Well, good evening, everybody. It's Buck Risby here. Thank you for joining us. I think most everyone is on the line with us via the webcast, and I already see some questions streaming in, so really, really glad to have you with us here tonight for the 9 Steps to Keep the Doctor Away webinar. In just a moment here, I'm going to introduce our special guest, but I just wanted to, in advance, thank you again for being here. You've made a very, very wise decision to join us for this event. As you probably heard, it's very, very difficult to actually spend time with the guests that we have here in a face-to-face manner. And so I feel very blessed and fortunate to actually have an opportunity to be a part of this as well. So without further ado, I'd like to give you some background on who you're going to be sharing the evening with over the next hour to hour and a half. His name is Dr. Rashid A. Buttar, and he's trained in general surgery and emergency medicine and served as a brigade surgeon for the Army's 2nd Infantry Division while stationed in South Korea. He's the former chief of the Department of Emergency Medicine at Moncrief Army Hospital at Fort Jackson in South Carolina. He's board certified in preventive medicine and clinical medical toxicology and has achieved fellowship status in 3 prestigious medical societies. Dr. Buttar has lectured worldwide to physicians and has been featured in national and international news media, including television, radio, and newspapers such as the Wall Street Journal, CNN, Fox. And he's the chairman of the American Board of Clinical Medical Toxicology and is a nutrition scientist at North Carolina State University. Dr. Buttar is ranked as one of the top 50 doctors in the U.S. by Phillips Publishing and has been nominated for the NIH, that's the National Institutes of Health, Director's Pioneer Award. And that's a program that supports scientists of exceptional creativity who are pioneering the research on today's toughest health problems. Now, Dr. Buttar is the medical director of the Center for Advanced Medicine and Clinical Research outside of Charlotte, North Carolina, which is where he is right now, whose mission of the center is to give those with untreatable conditions, including cancer, heart disease, and neurological disorders, an opportunity to recover. I am really proud and humbled to be with you. I'd like to introduce you to Dr. Rashid A. Buttar. Doctor, you're on the line?
Yes, Buck, I'm right here. Thank you very much for that great introduction. While you were saying all that stuff, I was thinking I want to meet that guy, but it's not. Thanks for that. It was really nice.
Well, I'm really tickled to have you here, Dr. Buttar, and I know that everyone that's on the line is just anxious to hear what you have to talk about. Would you mind sharing a little bit about your story? Because you and I have met, and I've gotten to know you a bit better over the last few months. But every time I hear your story, it's incredibly moving and powerful for me, and I think the audience would appreciate that.
Absolutely, I'll be happy to do so. Some of the people that may be watching the webinar may have already seen some of the videos. In fact, we just released the newest video just a couple of days ago that documented part of that story. Let me just preface this by saying that we all have key moments in our lives that are deciding factors and that direct us in certain directions. And I had already made the switch from the type of medicine I was in to a less popular, more out-of-the-box type of thinking. And when I decided that perhaps we were basically seeing a lot of different types of patients, and one of the parents that I had seen was a parent that had a child with autism, and the parent asked me if I'd also see the child, and she'd gotten better, and long story short, I started seeing this child. The child got better to a certain degree. Mom was very happy. Unfortunately for me, I'm a very simple-minded type person. Black is black, white is white. There's not much of a gray zone there. We, in surgery, used to use the motto, heal with steel, and when in doubt, cut it out. So, it's that type of mentality. It's very, very cut and dry. And but this child really, in my book, still hadn't gotten that much better. And but Mom was happy, and we started getting more and more patients. And after a couple of years, it was just too much. Emotionally, it was difficult dealing with the parents. The children were tearing up the rooms. And I wasn't getting a personal satisfaction of seeing the type of result that I was hoping for, that I wanted. And so I just said, you know what, we're going to stop seeing autistic children, children that are developmentally delayed. And soon after that is really what ended up happening. And Buck, if you'll allow me, I would like to kind of stop this story here and kind of come back to it in a moment when I I want to kind of show everybody in the webinar why this is such an important thing first, and then kind of give an example. If you'd allow me to do that, I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
This talk that I'm going to give today is directly related to the subject of my newest book that has not quite been released yet. It'll be released within the next week or so, The 9 Steps to Keep the Doctor Away. And what you just heard Buck asking me about the story, that's actually the reason that I got involved with this type of medicine and made the shift and started realizing, when we know something intellectually or even intuitively, it means one thing. But then when we're affected by it on the heart level, on the soul level, by something that affects us down to our core, like a child or a parent or something, the frame of reference changes. And so I want to come to that point in a second, but I want to tell you what really the issue is worldwide. This is not just a problem here in the United States or in certain parts of the world. It's worldwide. This is the problem. And my goal is that within an hour and a half, when you leave this webinar, that we have made a transition. You have understood something, and you are much more empowered than you were before this conference call, before this webinar, and you understand something tangible that you can go out and take action upon. So having said that, because there's so much material to cover, Buck asked me to come up with what he thought, what I would think would be the easiest way to kind of get some of this information across. So the book is called The 9 Steps to Keep the Doctor Away. We don't have time to go through all the 9 steps, but the 9 steps are actually based upon things that, these aren't things that I read or learned about. These are things that I actually observed over 19 years of clinical practice. And I put these things into a format that we were able to then start measuring, quantify the amount of improvement the patients had. And those 9 steps are based upon a 3-tiered system, or 3 foundations. So those 3 foundations, and that's what we're going to basically discuss today. Those 3 foundations, the first one is systemic detoxification. The second one is immune modulation, and the third one is physiological optimization. Now, what that means, it's obviously a mouthful, those 3 terms. It's described in greater detail in the book, but essentially we're talking about the first step, systemic detoxification, is cleaning up the body, taking the trash out, and there's a lot of trash in our system. The second one, immune modulation, is upregulating and reawakening and repairing the immune system, which becomes damaged secondary to that first one, the toxicity aspect. And the third one, physiological optimization, is to get the body where it's supposed to be, optimized, functioning in a manner. Think of it as a race car. It's highest acceleration, highest amount of speed, lowest drag coefficient, being able to function at the highest optimum level. Now, again, time constraints will dictate that we can't go through all this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to zero in. This is kind of like the magnifying glass, if you will. We're going to magnify from the 9 steps. We went to the 3 foundations. We're going to start talking about the systemic detoxification, and in that detoxification, there's 7 causes of toxicity. Again, that's described in the book in great detail. The 7 toxicities lead to oxidative stress, and oxidative stress is a common denominator for all chronic disease. And I will give you a resource where you can watch 9 videos. There's no charge to you at the end of the webinar, and you can go and learn about those 7 toxicities. So that will be something that's coming up towards the end.
So can I interrupt you, Doc?
Sure.
So that's very, very important, because it's very important that everyone stay on this presentation to the end, because there's some very special things that will be shared, including that link where they can get those free videos, right?
Absolutely. And these are 9 videos. They're about 10 to 12 minutes each, and they will truly explain the cause of all chronic disease, and you will see proof positive at the end. So now let's just talk about, on the systemic detoxification, I'm just going to pick one component, and that's metals. Metals are the first toxicity. So let's give an example of what I'm talking about when I'm talking about metals. This is a study that was done in the American Journal of Cardiology, and they found that patients that died of a condition called idiopathic dilated cardiomyopathy died. These people died at a relatively young age, and when they died, they did autopsies of their heart, and they found that these people had 22,000 times the safe level of mercury in their heart. The second slide is the New England Journal of Medicine, and that talked about, this particular study talked about mercury and its association with heart attacks, with myocardial infarction, and an inverse correlation with fish oils. Now, how many times have you gone to your doctor, if you have heart disease or your family member has heart disease, and they've talked about the level of mercury? I can pretty much tell you it's none. Nobody ever talks about that. So here's a slide that shows the National Library of Medicine. This is under the subdivision of the Centers for Disease Control. It's called ATSDR, Agency for Toxic Substance and Disease Registry. And I guess there's a little delay we're having. Okay, so I apologize for that. So the slides are changing a little bit slow. The next slide will pop up here in a second, but that's a slide that shows ToxLine. ToxLine is a database that is part of the Agency for Toxic Substance and Disease Registry, which is a subdivision of the Centers for Disease Control. And I went in and I did a search under mercury and cardiovascular disease. As the chairman of the American Board of Clinical Mental Toxicology, part of my responsibility is to make sure that the educational parameters and the newest research, we are presenting these at the various conferences that we hold to train additional doctors and new doctors. So I just did this little search just to kind of see what would happen. And when I did the search under the conventional Medline, barely anything, nothing showed up. Mercury and cardiovascular disease, hardly anything showed up. But when I did it under ToxLine, it was 358 studies that showed up associating mercury with heart disease. And we're just talking about mercury. We're not talking about all the other metals. So that's just, and this was done probably about 4 or 5 years ago. The level of studies, the number of studies, the pure number worldwide is absolutely stunning. But these studies are never reported by the popular media because the powers that be don't want this information to be known. Now, I'm going to go on to the next slide. Again, there's a delay here. I apologize. And there's actually 5 slides here. I'm just going to flip right through these really quickly. It's showing cancer and metals, and specifically mercury. So the next couple of slides you're going to see, we're going to fly through them really quickly. And if anybody really wants these studies, if you're really that bored, I'll provide you all these studies, and you can look at them yourself. But these studies show the correlation between mercury and cancer, the association between them. By the way, there's a way to get all these DVDs that we have, which we'll talk about too, and so all these studies are in those DVDs, and you can get those for free too, so you'll understand that here towards the end of the webinar as well. But these slides that you're seeing that I'm flipping through right now is evidence of research that has been done associating heavy metals with cancer. And so I did the same ToxLine search under the search parameters of mercury and cancer, and I found 643 different studies associating mercury to cancer. Remember, this is just one metal. We're not talking about aluminum and cadmium and lead and uranium and plutonium and tin and arsenic and thallium and gadolinium and all these other metals. We're just talking about mercury, one metal and one disease, cancer. And 643 different studies associating mercury with cancer, and yet nobody ever addresses mercury in cancer. Now, there's many other metals, there's many other toxins that cause cancer, and what exactly is the, when you talk about cancer, what is actually causing cancer? Well, I'll give you a couple quick answers to that. Cancer cannot arise unless you've got a damaged immune system. It is impossible for cancer to arise if you have an intact immune system. So if you have a damaged immune system, then cancer can set up house. So why would somebody that has mercury get a damaged immune system? Mercury is the second most toxic substance known to man. Mercury is the second most toxic substance known to man. Uranium is the first. And yet, the second most toxic substance known to man is able to be put in our mouths. It's able to be injected into our bodies as a preservative in vaccines. And it's the second most toxic substance that has been, at least according to the Environmental Protection Agency, the second most toxic substance that has ever been measured on this planet. Now, that's in its organic form. That's in its inorganic form. You make it organic, it becomes more assimilable in the body, and so now the body can assimilate the mercury in a much easier fashion, and so now the mercury goes from being the second most toxic to by far the most toxic, but it's between 500 and 1,000 times more toxic than it was in its inorganic form. Then, just to go on really quickly, I did the same search on mercury and neurological disease and saw the same type of an association, 1,445 studies showing the correlation between mercury and neurological disease. Now, why is this important? The reason this is important is that the number of people that die on the planet, according to the World Health Organization, 8 out of 10 people that are dying on the planet, this is data from 1999 and, from 1998 and was confirmed again in 1999, and the references are in my book, but this data showed that 8 out of 10 people on the planet Earth that are living in the industrialized nations are dying from either heart disease or cancer. 8 out of 10. That means if you look at homicide, suicide, all other diseases combined, you look at accidental deaths, you look at natural disasters, you look at wars, you combine all causes of death, 8 out of 10 are dying from either heart disease or cancer. But we hear about the bus that went off the cliff, and we hear about, this attack and this plane that crashed and this and that, but we don't hear that 8 out of 10 people are actually dying from this condition of either heart disease or cancer. And when you add neurodegenerative disease, the subject of this last slide, mercury neurological disease, when you add neurological disease, which is like stroke, dementia, that Alzheimer's, those type of things, now you're looking at 9.2 out of every 10, or 92% of every person that's dying on the planet. 92% are dying from heart disease, cancer, or neurodegenerative disease. So 8% of the people are actually dying of all other causes. Now, why is the media not reporting this? Why don't people talk about this? And when you look at this, I just showed you proof that mercury is associated to neurological disease, to cancer, and to heart disease, to cardiovascular, to cancer, and to neurological disease. All three of those, the causes of 92% death, we just associated just to one metal. So the point here is, before I go on, if you've got this metal in your body, get it out. It's not rocket science. It's trash. It's poison. Get it out of your system. Go to a biological dentist, the closest one you can find. Find a doctor that knows how to treat the heavy metal toxicity. Go to abcmt.org, ABCMT, American Board of Clinical Metal Toxicology.org, and you can find a doctor, a reputable doctor that has been trained on how to address this stuff easily. We'll have these slides for you, or the information for you later on. So that's the take-home message for the first portion. Mercury, it's deadly. Flu shots, vaccines, it's in there. It's everywhere. This next slide is a billboard that was paid for by a patient of mine who is the founder of an organization called Moms Against Mercury. Well, there's a huge delay here, isn't there?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember that.
Advance it, okay. So this particular slide picture was taken in Asheville, North Carolina, and this mom paid money out of her own pocket to put this billboard up there. She was asked by her husband, what do you want? Do you want a new car or a diamond ring for her anniversary? And she said, I want to have enough money to take out a billboard, just so she was able to make the public aware of what's going on. So where is mercury? We already talked about it just briefly. There's a couple different places you can find mercury. Pretty much when the volcanoes hit in Europe, that was the mercury ash that was put out into the environment was just unbelievable. The sheer volume of mercury. In fact, combustion of fossil fuel is the most common way of getting mercury exposure. And the natural volcanic ash has very high mercury content. So this slide that you're looking at, the upper left, that's combustion of fossil fuel. You're breathing in the vapors. On the upper right, what you're looking at is amalgam, which is defined as 49.5% by weight of mercury within this amalgam. But amalgam is a conglomeration of a couple of different substances, including silver, tin, and a couple of other things. We call them silver fillings, but that's mercury. If you have mercury in your mouth, you need to get it out, and you need to get it out by the right dentist. Don't just go to any dentist, because they don't believe in it. They don't know the right way of taking it out, and if you take it out the wrong way, you're going to actually cause a worsening of your symptomology if you have any, because the vapors that you're inhaling, it's 5 to 9 nanograms per deciliter per tooth per day that you're inhaling from the amalgams in your mouth. So if you have a dentist not try to take them out and they grind it out, you're going to increase that vapor load, and so it's going to be even worse. We beat the hell out of the fish industry. That's what that bottom question mark is over that image of food. That's fish. Supposedly that's fish, but the mercury content in game fish is very high. The recent study that was reported in the USA Today talked about that only 21% of fish that were caught in the United States in our freshwater, only 21% had mercury levels that were considered safe. But notice I said mercury levels that were safe. In other words, they had still mercury. They all had mercury in them, but it was what they considered to be safe. That's a methyl mercury exposure, as opposed to the thing that we inject into us, which is the next picture, a vaccine preservative called thimerosal. That's ethyl mercury, as opposed to methyl mercury, which is in fish. Maternal amalgam components is a big thing. Your maternal load, so the amount of mercury in the mother's mouth, and when she's breastfeeding, it goes across the breast tissue, or even in utero crosses the placenta, and then of course in our water supply. So the point is, it's all over the place. The next slide you will see actually is a picture of a sheep. They there was a big controversy whether or not mercury from dental amalgam was actually spreading throughout the body. So they took mercury dental fillings, radioisotope labeled them, put them in a sheet, and then they took a scan 30 days later. And this slide actually shows the distribution of the. This is really frustrating. I haven't hit this thing a couple seconds ago. It's still this is showing. Okay. So this radiograph or this image is actually everything that's black is mercury being picked up, and this is showing it in. Can they see my cursor, Josh?
No.
Okay. So on the top part that's labeled IBL, that's the adrenal glands, the kidneys. You see the thoracic cavity, and then you see the mandible and maxilla, the jaw area, and that's all mercury that was leaked into the tissues of this animal. In less than 30 days, just from the amalgam that were put in. And the people that were opposing this argument said, well, this isn't accurate. These are ruminant animals. They have to cut, they chew. So they repeated the study, put it in monkeys, and they had the same exact distribution. All right, the next slide that you're going to see is, in the interest of time, and because these slides are kind of frustrating here, I'm going to kind of advance. The issue with in a normal individual that we would expect to see mercury in, and this is a perfect example. This is a patient that came to me. She had some symptomology, didn't know what was wrong with her. She felt like she was literally dying. She was very concerned because she was a healthy person, never had any medical problems, and all of a sudden she started having strange things such as hair loss, loss of libido, vaginal dryness, headaches, visual disturbances, and she came into my clinic. She had been a patient of mine for a couple of years, had never had any problems, just wanted to, be a fit, healthy person. She was in her early 40s. And then one day she comes in after being a patient for 2 years and tells me that she feels like she's slowly dying. And I said, I just joked. And I said, don't be so silly. You're not dying. She goes, no, you don't understand. I literally feel like I'm dying. And then she explained all these symptoms that she had that were all new within like a month of 45 days. We didn't know what was going on. And I did a challenge test on her, which is essentially a way to assess for heavy metals. She said to me that she didn't think, before she told me she never thought she had an issue with metals. This time she was feeling so bad and she was deteriorating so rapidly. She didn't argue with me. She said, okay. We did the test, and this was our test level. And you see her mercury levels showed up. It's on my side. It's very small. Josh, can you see that?
65.
65. Yeah, 65. 65 micrograms per gram creatinine, and anything less than 3 is considered normal. Greater than 3 is considered toxic. Now, by the way, they consider greater than 3 toxic, less than 3 normal. There is no such thing as a normal level of poison in the body. So let's just get that straight. Regardless, this is what the level was. And we started treating her, and you will see how fast her levels came down. The dates are difficult to see on these slides at the bottom. I think that's November 2001. The previous slide was in October 2001. And you'll see that her mercury levels dropped down to 29. And then the third test, her mercury level, we added glutathione to the cocktail that we were giving her infusion, and the intravenous glutathione actually doubled the yield of her mercury. The purpose of these slides is just to show how quickly a person can develop mercury toxicity. And this lady, what had happened was her daughter broke a thermometer. She vacuumed it up. The mother vacuumed it up with a vacuum and inhaled the mercury fumes, and this is how fast she became toxic. And literally her system started shutting down. So understanding some of these components and understanding how these things can actually affect us becomes crucial. Now, that was in a normal, healthy individual. The problem is patients that have an impaired detoxification system, where their detoxification pathways have been damaged. From what you may ask, it could be from multiple things, but generally there's a genetic predisposition for the inability to excrete. And this patient population includes patients that actually end up having cancer. These are the patients that end up getting Alzheimer's. These are the patients that end up having autism. Now, the next slide that you're going to see here, again, I apologize. I'm trying to paste this as I'm trying to advance these slides ahead of time, but it's not working very well. This was a patient that came to me. This is a patient that's actually very famous. I'm not going to spend much time on this because anybody who gets the heavy metal DVD has this story. This is actually a woman that when I testified in front of U.S. Congress, I gave an example of a patient. This was a patient, and she was the one who showed me, who proved to me, not by explaining to me, but by me treating her, I learned this issue of what impaired detoxification pathways were that even my colleagues hadn't understood at that time. And this is actually the reason we've had so much success in treating autism. And essentially, this woman had every type of problem you can imagine. She had basically a multi-system organ failure type picture going on. She had hirsutism, which is facial hair. She had an ataxic gait. She couldn't walk straight. She couldn't talk properly anymore. She had chest pain. She had shortness of breath. Her body ached. Her joints ached. She was 34 years old, and she felt like she was dying, and she looked like she was dying. And I said, oh, I know what this is. This is mercury. And she's like, you sure this is mercury? I said, oh, it's definitely mercury. And she goes, but I already had a check. And I said, doesn't matter. The doctors don't know the right way of doing it, blah, blah, blah. I said, you have to have a urine test done. You have to have an IV done and collect the urine. And she says, Dr. Buttar, that's what I had done. I had a test done where I had to take an IV treatment, and then I collected my urine. Well, that kind of confused me. I thought, well, that's the right way of doing it. So I got the information on the doctor, contacted him. They sent me back the records, and I didn't know who the doctor was, but the doctor apparently knew who I was and had attended one of the conferences where I had lectured. In fact, the record he sent me of this patient said Buttar DMPS protocol on the lab work. So I'm trying to figure out now what's happening. I said, okay, well, maybe this is a lab error. Let's repeat it. We repeated the test. You can see the levels of her mercury. It was nothing. Her mercury was essentially not even existent. 2.6 the first time, 2.9 the second time. So now I'm thinking there's nothing wrong with this lady, and she's been already told, and there's nothing wrong from a mental standpoint, and now I'm not so sure I can help her. And she's been told by all her doctors that she's losing it. She's losing her mind. She needs antidepressants. She needs antipsychotics. She needs to be seen by a psychiatrist. There's nothing wrong with her. And yet, because all her lab works were normal, and yet I can see these physical findings. This woman had breast milk coming out, although she wasn't pregnant. She'd been worked up for cancer. So this isn't normal type of stuff. You don't have headaches, unable to walk, unable to talk, milk coming out of your breast, joint aches, all these other things, suicidal ideation. She was in so much pain she was starting to consider suicide. She, in fact, told me the day that she was sitting in my office when I talked to her, the first time, she said, if you can't help me, I have to help myself, and she patted her purse. And I don't know whether she had a gun in there or whether she had pills in there, but I did have her sign a document saying she wasn't going to hurt herself because as a physician, if we see somebody that's talked about this, potentially indicated that they may have suicidal ideations, we have to hospitalize them. She promised she wasn't going to hurt herself. And long story short, we ended up starting to treat her. Well, now here's what you see on this next slide. You see her mercury levels, and notice that her mercury levels are substantially higher. They're at, well, Josh, I need to pull up my own slides here. You know what? Maybe I should just pull up my own slides, and if you can just advance, because I can't see the
slides are in sync with the audio, too. So
they are in sync with the audio?
They are, because the audio is behind. I just plugged in.
Oh, okay.
I see 9.4 on the previous one and 19, I think.
On the next one? Okay.
On the next one.
Perfect. So you see how much her mercury is going up. And by the way, from the point of 2.6 to the point of 9.4, that was about 20 weeks. And you can see the dates up there, how long this took. It took about 6 months to get her down to those levels. The interesting thing is her symptoms started to disappear. Her breast milk started to dissipate and eventually stopped within about 3 months of treatment. By the 5th month of treatment, her suicidal ideations were a thing of the past. She just had some depression, some anxiety, but all these things were getting better. Her entire demeanor started changing. Her ataxic gait, her shortness of breath, her chest pain, she steadily improved. And we steadily continued to treat her. And as we continued to treat her, she improved. But look at her mercury levels. They're consistently increasing. The next level was up to 19. Now, this is an interesting thing. Her levels are going up, and yet she's getting better. So you would say, well, how is that possible? Well, obviously we weren't putting metals in her. We were pulling metals out of her. But these tests are indicative of what we're pulling out. They are not indicative of what's in the total body. In other words, these tests are highly accurate from a qualitative standpoint, the quality of it, meaning the metals, if they're there, yes, they're there. But from a quantitative standpoint, they are not accurate at all. They only measure what we're pulling out. So you can see this next test, they were up to 20, the mercury level was 27. And she's climbing, and yet her symptoms are getting better and better and better. And then finally we did a test, and after 2 years of continuously treating this woman on a weekly basis, and believe me, if we were shut during a holiday week, for a day, if it happened to be her treatment, this woman would panic. She wanted to get her treatments. I mean, it totally changed her life. Then her mercury levels came down to 1.7, and then we added intravenous glutathione to it to increase the load, and then you can see that the next slide, we actually started pulling out even more mercury. So it wasn't as high as the original amount, but the point is the body is a vector that does not want to deal with many of these heavy metals, and because it can't get rid of it, it stores it into the deep tissues. In the case of mercury, it gets stored inside of fat, inside of the myocardium, the heart tissue. For instance, lead. Lead is, here's a common problem. Doctors do metal testing, they do mercury testing, they do lead testing, they look at it in blood. They don't see it in blood, they say you don't have mercury, you don't have lead, you don't have any metal issues. That's preposterous because the body wants to store this stuff and get it out. It's like getting a fruitcake from your mother-in-law. You don't want to see it. You don't want to, you put it in the basement and 2 years later you find it. Now I'm being facetious obviously, but the point is the body doesn't want to deal with this type of issue. What the body wants to do is to protect itself. So in the case of lead gets stored inside of bone. Now anybody that's ever seen any of those investigative series or CSI, you know that they exhume the bodies, they look at the bone, they do biopsies, that's how they find lead toxicity. You don't do blood tests to find lead. And 20 years, 30 years, 40 years after the body has been buried, you see the lead in the bones. So my point again is that these metals are in the system, and because we can't get them out, that's what causes the problem. And there are certain people that can't get these metals out. Normal individuals can get metals out. People with a genetic defect or genetic predisposition, I should say, not a genetic defect as far as a gene anomaly, but a genetic predisposition for the inability to detoxify, just like a red-headed person versus a black-haired person versus a brown-haired person. There are people that have various abilities, various genetic components, and some of those people can't get rid of mercury, and that's where we come into the personal story that Nasha, that you were asking me about. I had decided that I was going to stop seeing autistic children, as I mentioned, and because it was just getting too frustrating, and I thought that I didn't need to see them. In other words, my practice was successful without seeing autistic children, and so we made the decision to stop seeing children, and that decision was made in February of 2008. And in January of 2009, 11 months later, maybe that decision was made in March 2008. It was 10 to 11 months later, my son was born. Now, my ex-wife and I, this is my son Avi, my ex-wife and I had made a decision that our children would not be vaccinated anymore. She had, after my daughter was born, she had 3 miscarriages, and so she had stopped trying to have a child anymore. She was 42 when my son Avi was born. And he was born, as I said, exactly between 10 and 11 months, exactly after I made that decision. So it wasn't that she was pregnant with him and we made the decision. I made the decision not to see any more kids, and after that he was conceived, and then 10 to 11 months later he was born. And he was healthy, strong, did things like, we wouldn't expect people to be able to do at that age. I mean, newborn babies, they don't hold their heads up. He was holding his head up in a couple of days. He started speaking at a very early age. He was 7 months old when he said his first words. He was actually walking. By the time he was 7 months old, he started running. He was 9 months old. He was already running. He didn't know how to stop, though. He only stopped by running into a door, into a wall, so it was kind of funny to see that. He learned how to stop by the time he was about 10 months old. But his first word was Abu. And Abu means father in Arabic, and ended up having 10 to 15 words, somewhere in that range. I don't remember exactly how many words, but he had a small little vocabulary. And around 14 months, he, unbeknownst to me, was getting the vaccines, got another set of vaccines, and he stopped talking. The slide that you see here is a test that I did on him because, I first thought metals, and I was one of only 180-some doctors worldwide or nationwide that was board certified in metal toxicity. I didn't think my son's going to have metals. And I was worried about mercury. Mercury is very unique in the type of damage it causes, but you can see here his mercury levels were 0. He only had arsenic and he had antimony, but he had no mercury. And we did test after test after test, and I did a number of tests on him using different chelators, and talked to all the experts and talked to everybody about it, and everybody had a different opinion. It was like you talked to 10 people, they gave you 20 opinions, and these were all supposedly the forefront researchers and physicians in this arena. And the only thing that I knew after talking with all of them, that none of them knew what the hell they were talking about, because they all were so, they all had such differing opinions, and there's no way that a subject matter that has such differing opinions that you have to have some type of semblance, some type of commonality in a thought process. And people were saying all sorts of different things. Oh, yes, it's metals. Oh, no, it's not metals. Oh, it's persistent organic pollutants. Oh, no, it's the gut issue. No, it's this issue, it's that issue. It's a genetic issue. It's the size of the circumference of the head issue. It's a, it's a genetic problem that's to deal with the parents, and just all sorts of different things. And you can see the metal levels are just nothing. There's nothing there. And the next slide that you're going to see, mercury actually is the lowest component that you see in my son's hair. In fact, you saw that in the first slide. This is the third test or fourth test that I did. You can see the mercury level was always the least. Why was mercury the least? Why was there so little level of mercury when, in my mind, I'm thinking this must be a mercury issue, but it wasn't. And it's actually interesting that if it hadn't been for Karen, you can see this is my son on his third birthday. If it hadn't been for what had happened with Karen, I would have never realized this. Notice that on my son's third birthday, his mercury level was 13 micrograms per gram creatinine. Okay, so that's the slide that they're looking at right now?
Yeah.
The audio is delayed?
Yeah.
Okay. The point is that the mercury is, after a year and a half of trying to figure out what the cause was and looking for mercury, finding no mercury, all of a sudden, when we started using DMPS, his mercury lit up like a Christmas tree. And that was the day, that was on his third birthday, on January 25th, that I started treating him for mercury. And within 5 months, he went from no speech to having over 500 words, and he's never shut up since then. And that's a picture of Abhi now. Now, so let me just ask you: are you seeing the? So is this sound? My sound?
Yeah, there's a slight delay. It's about to roll to the picture of Abhi, but I just saw the mercury jump to 13, and it's very elevated. Pegged on the very elevated side. So.
Okay.
That was just amazing to me to see that, just like that other lady, Karen, that you talked about, where no measurement, suddenly it goes off the charts.
Right. Okay. So actually, Josh is just listening into the actual. I guess there's a delay and also my audio, so that's good. I was thinking that this was kind of frustrating.
There's two delay in the audio, but the audio does match
that. Okay, good. So everybody's hearing what they're supposed to be hearing. So these are pictures that I'm showing right now. These are pictures of my son. At around 5 to 6 years old, and he's just an amazing kid. Every parent feels that way about all their children, and I have 3 children that I'm very blessed with. But there's something different about Abhi, and pretty much everybody that sees him says the same thing. In fact, you can see these pictures of a 5-year-old. He's never had any instruction. Just look at the way he's sitting there in his poses. He's just sitting there on the side while other people are competing. And this is at an age of 5. You can see another child. This last slide, you can see another child sitting next to him, and like a normal child, just playing around, and you can see how Abhi's looking at him. It's just a very interesting persona for somebody so young. So, for the people that are on this webinar that may not have had the ability to go and see the videos, the emails that talked to you that Eamon was sending out and that some of the other people were sending out regarding the videos, please go and look at those. You will see the most recent one, which is video 4. It's called Motivation. If you go to those, just click on one of those links. It's the9steps.com/video 4. But if you just go there, look at one of those emails, watch that video, because that video is brand new. It actually is a mini documentary, and you see 9 minutes from what happened with Abhi. You actually see video footage of him when he was injured. You see video footage of him testifying in front of Congress, which that footage has been out there. And then you see video footage of what he's like now, which was just shot Friday, so it was only shot 4 or 5 days ago. And it's never been shown before. It's going to be all over the internet here very shortly. But I want you guys to see what happens to a child, what's possible when somebody's injured, and what's possible if the trash is taken out of the body effectively. The key here is that if you can effectively So if you do some kind of detoxification and the disease is still there, the problem isn't that my theory was wrong. The problem is that the detoxification wasn't effective. That is the key operative word, effective detoxification. If I have a patient and they don't respond to my treatment, it's not because what I have, my philosophy is wrong. It's because I haven't been able to effectively detoxify them from whatever the issue is that's poisoning them. Now, I have proven this. We have taken cancer. We've taken heart disease. We've taken Alzheimer's, diabetes, autism, whatever the disease is. And once we've effectively detoxified them, that condition that has been conventionally considered to be uncurable has been reversed. There's certain words that I can't use, so I'm not going to use those words, but those conditions don't exist anymore. And if you go to that video 4, you'll see all the different, just a couple of examples of different videos that prove this. This isn't lip service. We're not talking about take this potion or take that pill or take this, drink this juice and you're going to get cured. That's just ludicrous. That's just preposterous. That doesn't work. That's not how the world works. The issue is toxicity. And if you can eliminate toxicity effectively, and there's 7 toxicities that I'm going to show you where you can get the videos and learn all about that ad nauseum, you'll be able to learn about it. If you can effectively detoxify the body, that chronic disease cannot exist. Now, what I'm about to show you right now is going to get a lot of people pissed off. It should get a lot of people very, very irate. But I want to show you this because this is what the media should be reporting and does not. What you're looking at is a material safety data sheet from a little-known company called Eli Lilly. You may have heard of them. They're one of the largest manufacturers of drugs and vaccines on the market right now. Eli Lilly material safety data sheet dated June 13th, 1991. 1991, the statistics for autism were 1 out of 10,000 children had it. In 1991, we declared war on childhood diseases, and the National Vaccine Initiative was started, which basically said that we're going to stamp out all childhood diseases and give children vaccines on the first day on the planet. Our incidence of autism today is less than 1 out of 100 children in the United States. Now, for those that don't understand this, people say autism is genetic. There is no such thing as a genetic epidemic that occurs in less than 20 years that takes a condition from 1 out of 10,000 to less than 1 out of 100. There is no such thing. This is an environmental issue. And this material safety data sheet on thimerosal is, Josh, if you can pull up the slides, and I want you to read this for me. The second one, I've got a closer up there. Thimerosal, these are the side effects that were reported by Eli Lilly on the safety of this substance, which is nothing more than ethyl mercury. Thimerosal is a brand name for ethyl mercury. And you will see that it says on the third line, thimerosal contains mercury. Mercury poisoning can occur, and topical hypersensitivity reactions may be seen. Early signs of mercury poisoning in adults are nervous system effects, including narrowing of the visual field and numbness in the extremities. Exposure to mercury in utero and in children can cause mild to severe mental retardation and mild to severe motor coordination impairment. This is a study that was done in order to assess the efficacy and the safety of a substance. And the company that makes this substance, by the way, Eli Lilly makes thimerosal and then sells it to other vaccine manufacturers, their own study said that this stuff causes mental retardation. Neurological effects cause a mild to severe neurological effects, including but not limited to mental retardation. And they're putting this in our children. Now, this slide that I've just put up here is from Jo Pike. She's a mother of a child that I treated. She gave me permission to use this. She used to this slide and this information. She was the president of the National Autism Association, and I was getting ready to give a presentation. It was one of those, I never get down, but it was one of those days where I had been attacked by a number of different professional medical organizations about what I had been saying and what our treatments had been. And this is just a couple of minutes before my presentation, and she sent me this email, and it's just, it just kind of brought it all home for me. This is in 2004. This is right after I testified in front of Congress. I testified May 6, 2004, and pretty much that's when the attacks on my character started. And I'll just read this email. Just a little more encouragement. Hunter's been doing TDD-MPS for almost 2 weeks. TDD-MPS is a treatment that was developed for my son. We're already starting to see good things, and he's now dry at night. Yay. This child was still having problems with bladder incontinence, and I believe the child was around 7 years old at the time. He was still wearing diapers at the time. Hunter is one of the toughest cases, and others like him are also responding. This is what it's all about. Nothing else matters but giving these kids a shot at the future. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I put this slide in here because I like to see this every time I give a presentation because I want to. It reminds me of why I'm dealing with a lot of the BS that I sometimes have to deal with. Nasser, you can kind of talk about that later on. I think you told me you wanted to ask me some questions about that. We weren't sure if we'd have time for that. But anyway, this next slide that I've got here is my son now. He's just finished the year ranked number 2 in the world in traditional style Taekwondo in the katas and the forms. And he finished number 3 in the world in sparring, in fighting. And obviously I'm very proud of him, but this is a child that has done some extraordinary things already. He's the youngest formal witness in front of the U.S. Congress, and it's his name Abid, which I named him after my father. Abid means one who serves God, and I think he has, at his very young age, already served that purpose very well. So this is, we're about halfway into the presentation, halfway into our time slot, and this is basically what I just wanted to kind of talk about. This would be considered what would be the core of what I wanted to discuss. And just to give you an example of one condition, I didn't pick cancer, I didn't pick heart disease. I had to pick something that would be important for everybody because we did a survey, and in that survey, more than 80% of the people were more than 70% of the people were interested in health optimization. So I have to now, I can tell you something to do, but if I don't emotionally connect with you and explain to you why this is important, you're not going to understand it. So I picked this topic, and I picked these slides, and I picked my story of my son to show you the importance of getting metal out of your body. Because he had it injected into his body, but he also had some of it that came into his body from his mom, because when she had 12 fillings. And so when she was carrying him in utero, that was also being shunted into his body. So 1 out of 6 women, by the way, according to the Centers for Disease Control, 1 out of 6 women of childbearing age in the United States right now are mercury toxic. 1 out of 6 of women out there right now are mercury toxic, which means their child is going to be mercury toxic. And 1 out of 6 children being born in the United States, according to the American Pediatric Association, is being born with some type of a neurological impairment, whether it's autism, Asperger's, ADD, ADHD, pervasive developmental delay, whatever. 1 out of 6 women of childbearing age, mercury toxic, 1 out of 6 children being born with some kind of condition. You think that's a coincidence? So the reason I talked about this is from a health optimization standpoint. Do yourself a favor. I don't care what your age is. I don't care what your sex is. I don't care where in the country you live. I don't care what your dietary, your lifestyles are. Find a doctor, and we will give you the resources where you can find a doctor that's trained, and get checked for mercury. And if you got mercury in your mouth, for God's sake, get it out. And don't let anybody put a mercury amalgam filling in your mouth. If you have a cavity, get a polymer, get a resin, get gold, get nothing. Leave the cavity. I don't care. Don't put a poison in your body. Don't get vaccines. You want to know what the truth about vaccines are? I will give you references. There's a webinar that we did. And the webinar was very popular. We had, I don't know how many, we had like a 97% showing of the webinar, and 2 hours later we still had like 95% of the people that were on there. And it's actually, in fact, what we'll do is for the people that are on this call, not for everybody, but for people that are on this call, we'll give them that webinar for free. There's a charge for $20 or something like that. It goes to the foundation. But
oh, that's great. Thanks, Dr. Buttar.
Yeah, absolutely. If it can help somebody, change somebody's life, it's going to be well worth it. So basically, that's where we are. And I want to kind of mention another.
Let me interrupt for just a second, Dr. Buttar, because I've learned through you and that having this kind of a mission that you have now been, you made the decision to stop treating children, and then you had this personal tragedy that you were able to then treat your son, and he was just absolute beautiful boy now, extremely intelligent and accomplished, and you made the choice to go back to treating children with autism and people with other neurological diseases. And
actually, Nasser, I didn't really have a choice. It was, I kind of talk about this in the book. It was. I appreciate you saying that I had a choice, but I really didn't. I mean, for any parent, it wasn't a choice. You had to do that because there was no other option.
Yeah, I completely understand. Being a father of 4, I can definitely understand that. And one thing that I also know that you have done is you've made a personal sacrifice associated with this. I just wanted to bring this to people's attention because being a doctor that is really, we mentioned the NIH Director's Pioneer that you were nominated for that award. Being a pioneer, a pioneering scientist, does put you sort of maybe at odds with the establishment. And I know that you had a personal experience with the local medical establishment there, and I guess people on the call should know this, that you are a pioneer. You have been affecting some major changes in people's lives, the people that you're treating, but it does come with a cost, and not everyone in the medical community believes in what you're talking about here. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, that would be fair to say. I mean, we've even had 2020, PBS, Time Magazine. They've all interviewed me, but they won't air. They won't show the stuff. In fact, PBS Frontline, after 7.5 hours of videotaping in my office, they taped 3 of my patients for an hour each, and me over 3 hours, didn't air one single second on Frontline. And this type of stuff is happening because they don't want the truth to be known. The medical board charged me with essentially 8 counts of murder. And I spent $500,000 in the last 3 years fighting to defend my name. And with the end product, when we maneuvered to get it in front of a real judge, they wanted to get rid of this case so fast. I have absolutely nothing. I mean, they've dropped all charges. Everything was dropped. And, anybody wants to go read the truth about that, it's drbuttartruth.org. It's really amazing some of the things people say on the Internet. And I've got my share of defenders, and I really appreciate those people. But, other people, I guess there's an organization called Quackbusters, and they're organized, and they are propagating and pushing their agenda. I'll give you an example. One of my staff members went into Wikipedia, and they made a timeline introduction of my son testifying in front of the U.S. Congress. And this is a fact. It's in the Library of Congress. It's recorded. You've seen the video, Nasser. Everybody has seen this.
Yep.
In less than 5 minutes, it was flagged and said that it needed to be substantiated. So one of my staff members did all the substantiation, did that, re-entered it. Again, in 3 minutes, it was flagged. How did somebody do this? I mean, 3 different times in 3 different occasions. In fact, Josh, you were part of that group, right?
Yeah, I actually edited the Wikipedia.
And they just flagged it right away. There are people monitoring, and they will prevent the truth from coming out. They are paid.
I know you have a lot of things to cover here, but the only reason I wanted to bring this up is that people, pioneers, very often, I was just reading about the gentleman, was it Copernicus, or who the gentleman was that made the assertion before he died that the sun is the center of the solar system and not the Earth.
Galileo.
Or Galileo. And he was pretty much treated, as I learned, he was buried in an unmarked grave, which only recently has changed. So
it's interesting. You said that somebody once asked me. They said, how did it feel to be vindicated after with my son? And I said, vindicated. I didn't do this for vindication. I did this because I was trying to help one child, my child.
Right.
And so seeing my son being the healthy person he is today, that was vindication for me. I didn't care about what anybody else says. I mean, I'll take a bullet. Just like you take a bullet for your children, I'll take a bullet for my children every day. I don't care how many times I'd have to die to protect my children. I would do it. So to have a professional character assassination, whatever you want, or have to deal with the medical board of, spending millions of dollars or whatever on trying to protect your name, it doesn't matter. What matters is my son's okay. I'll shovel manure for the rest of my life if I have to. But see, Nasser, this is the one thing that I want to say. And for those people that are listening, the reason I'm calling Buck Nasser is because that's his real name, and I happen to know that, so I'm used to calling him that, so I don't want to confuse anybody. But, you talked about my son and what's happened with him. I want to tell you now, I want to share with you, I was lucky. I was lucky because my son My son is here. He's good. He's healthy. He's strong. He's going to do what he's supposed to be doing. But not every kid has been able to get there. And I want to tell you a story about a little girl.
Well, good evening.
I want to tell you now, I want to share with you, I was lucky. I was lucky because my son is here. He's good. He's healthy. He's strong. He's going to do what he's supposed to be doing. But not every kid has been able to get there. And I want to tell you a story about a little girl. In fact, I want somebody else that I've got on here right now, a friend of mine. I want Greg Adams. Greg is the father of a little girl. I'm going to have Greg say a few words here in a second, but I want to tell you. I just want to tell you about what happened with Greg's daughter. And Greg's daughter, in a nutshell, Lindsay was brought to me about 2 years ago with a brain cancer, with a glioblastoma, which is the most aggressive form of brain cancer, and it's actually the second most aggressive form of cancer out there. And she'd been seen everywhere, Duke and other places, and when she came to me, she'd already had a lot of radiation and chemo, and we did everything that we could to try to save her. And it didn't work. And Lindsay died about 3-4 weeks later. And the journey that I've been in the unfortunate circumstance where I've treated a number of children with cancers that didn't make it. And it's a feeling that it's a very, very humbling feeling, I can tell you that. Greg is the father of this little girl, and for whatever reason or however it happened, I don't remember all the details, but we just formed a bond, and we've become very, very close friends. And I want Greg to share a couple of things with you, and I want to share why this person is involved with this mission and what this mission is really about, because this isn't about what some of you may think it's about. It's not about what you would think it is. It's about making the change that the world's waiting for. It's about the fact that every single day we sit back and we do what we're doing. There's somebody that is suffering because they don't understand or they don't know the truth. And a parent that's doing something for the child, thinking that they're doing the best thing, and in actuality doing the worst possible thing for the child. And when a parent does do the right thing and goes against the system goes after the parent. There have been cases where parents have been chased while they're on the run trying to keep their child from getting chemotherapy because they know the chemotherapy is going to kill their child, and they have been ridiculed, ostracized, and demonized, and made to be like the bad parent that doesn't care about their child. So these type of things are out there. They're constantly happening. And Greg and I talked 2 days ago, and I realized Greg didn't even know this, didn't remember. He said it's about two years ago this happened, and he said, it's depressing whenever this time of the year comes, and I just want to be around you. And there's a couple of things we talked about. And Greg, I'm going to let you come on here and talk about this, but I want everybody to kind of notice this is Lindsay's grave, and I want you to notice the date. She died on June 9th, 2008, exactly 2 years ago in another 2 hours on the East Coast. Greg, are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Dr. Buttar, I'm here.
Greg, I'd like for you to kind of share with everybody what that felt like and where you are now and why you're involved with what things that we're doing.
Well, first of all, I just want to tell everybody on this webinar tonight that I'm so happy that everybody's tuned in to hear Dr. Buttar and his message. I am right now sitting in a tractor-trailer truck in Mississippi listening in on my cell phone, and I wish that I was in a room where I could see everybody in person. I just feel like I'm talking on the phone to Dr. Buttar, and it's just a one-on-one conversation, but I know there's a lot of people listening tonight. And basically, what Dr. Buttar was saying, I called him a couple of nights ago, and he had told me he was going to do this webinar, but it just, the dates and everything hadn't really come to focus in my mind. And I was telling him about this time of year. I remember right now, because it was exactly 2 years ago tonight. It was the eve of Lindsay's passing. She actually passed away tomorrow morning at about 10:58, right at 11 o'clock. It was 2 years ago tomorrow morning that she passed. And I was talking to Dr. Buttar earlier in the week, and I told him, I said, man, for the next couple of days, it plays in my mind like a movie. I can remember every single thing that happened throughout the last couple of days of Lindsay's life. And I was telling him that I feel such a bond with him because he was the one that was with us and was there with us in the last little bit of Lindsay's life. So that's the comfort that I find when I think back of what we went through, is just knowing that Dr. Buttar was there and that Lindsay, through us having her as our daughter and through what we went through with her loss, it's the worst thing in the world that anybody could ever go through would be to lose a child. But I'm also thankful that I have met Dr. Buttar through this. And I pray and say, God, thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to meet Dr. Buttar. Even though Lindsay's not here with me, she has blessed my life with a lifelong friend who has a message that's going to change a lot of things throughout the rest of the world. And I'm just really thankful to be aligned with you, Dr. Buttar. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate that, Greg. What's really interesting is that when we were talking 2 nights ago, and I had no idea this webinar had to set up for a couple of weeks, but Greg, this tonight, right now, this is the exact time we were in the ICU with her 2 years ago, exactly to the point. And these type of things aren't coincidental. I don't know how that works, but what are the chances of exactly? This was the time that you and I, when we, you want to tell them the story about what happened with Lindsay that night where our pulse oxygenation was at and what we did? And
I will, and I may need you to help me a little bit because 2 years ago tonight was the night that they had put Lindsay. Well, let me back up just a little bit. Right now, let me think just a minute. 2 years ago tonight would have been a Sunday night, I'm sorry. And Dr. Buttar was actually was flying back when they had put Lindsay into the intensive care unit at a hospital. He was coming back from a meeting that he was in, and Lindsay was really starting to kind of deteriorate quickly. And I just remember Dr. Buttar walking in the hospital room. I don't know a lot about what Lindsay's situation was. I know she was having some her oxygen levels were getting low.
Right. And Greg's wife, Lindsay's mom's a nurse, an RN, and so she would probably be a better one to explain this than you, right, Greg? I mean, but you're absolutely right. That's exactly what his oxygenation levels were low.
That's right. And I just remember I was holding Lindsay's hand, and I could talk to Lindsay, and when I asked her, Lindsay, can you hear me? This is your daddy. Can you hear me? She would squeeze my finger, so I knew she was hearing me and listening to me, even though she had like oxygen in her nose and stuff to help her breathe. And Dr. Buttar walked in, and it was like such a relief to see him because I was like, man, I've got some more support here with me, and I'm not standing here with Lindsay and my wife Kim by myself. I've got Dr. Buttar here with us, and we there was my mom and dad were there, Kim's mom and dad were there, my brother was there, so we had several family members there. And when Dr. Buttar came in, he walked right over to Lindsay, and he put his hand on Lindsay's forehead and put his other hand like on her arm. And then I stood right beside Dr. Buttar, and everybody that was there, we surrounded Lindsay's bed, and everybody had their hands.
I guess the one thing, Greg, is that her pulse oxygenation was down to 64%, and normal for a normal person is 99%. And once your oxygen starts deteriorating, like that 64% means that they got to put the tube down to try to keep the person alive. So she was really going into respiratory distress.
Mm-hmm.
Failure, right.
That's right. And I just remember we all just gathered around and started putting our hands on Lindsay, and we were just like focusing on her and concentrating and just thinking about her. And one thing that Dr. Buttar started telling everybody, he said, listen, let's look at Lindsay and picture Lindsay in perfect health. Let's just concentrate on her being healthy. And so we just kind of closed our eyes and meditated a little bit and just were concentrating on Lindsay. And all of a sudden her oxygen level started to rise back up. And that was just the most amazing thing that sticks out in my mind from 2 years ago is how just the energy from all of us and with Dr. Buttar there, all of our positive energy, just I believe Lindsay could feel that, and it just like made her so much better there for a little while.
Greg, I'm just going to interrupt for a second. In actuality, it wasn't quite that sudden. It took almost 45 minutes to an hour, but when I opened my eyes and I was doing my breathing exercise, I know I felt somebody put their hand on my shoulder, and I had my hand on Lindsay's head, but her oxygenation came up to 96% from 64%, if I'm right. It was somewhere in the mid-90s.
It was amazing.
And this happened exactly 2 years ago, right this minute. This is when that was happening. So what are the chances of having this webinar at that exact point? And, truth is stranger than fiction, they say, but I was really shocked when I found out that this webinar was going to be done. I didn't know about it until 2 nights ago.
It really is. Dr. Buttar, when I was talking to him, I called him just because I wanted to feel that bond with him a little bit. I was a little depressed and having a little bit of a time that I was going through. Like I said, it's just like a movie. It plays through my mind. I remember every single thing that's going to happen between now and tomorrow at 11 o'clock when Lindsay finally passed. And we just were talking about how things happen, and for this webinar to be going on the very night that we were all together with Lindsay, it was just amazing. And I just, after Lindsay passed tomorrow morning, 2 years ago, Dr. Buttar came into our room, and he and I just formed an even closer bond the next morning after Lindsay had already passed. And I told him that I wanted to do something with the rest of my life to help other people and other families and other parents that are going through and that will go through what we're going through, to hopefully one day not ever have to do this again. And that's kind of where this all started with mine and Dr. Buttar's friendship. Is I believe in what he's saying. I know what he's saying is true. I don't know why I didn't know what I know now when Lindsay was healthy, because before she was diagnosed with this brain tumor, if I knew what I know now, I would have gone to Dr. Buttar first and saved all the radiation.
I don't want my goal is actually not the same as Greg. I don't want people to have to come to me. I don't want anybody to be sick, so I don't have to be a doctor, so I can start doing something else. So maybe I can go into internet marketing like Buck or do something like that. So I don't have to deal with people that are sick. And I've tried leaving medicine because I'm tired of the way the medical profession is, but I don't have a choice. I don't question God anymore. I know what happened. What happened with my son was nothing more than a warning, and almost like, God kicking me back in the right direction. But with Greg and I, our mission is the same, and pretty much everybody. Why would Buck Risby, a prominent internet marketer, or Eamon, or the rich jerk, Ryan Kaufman, or many of these other people, some of the people that have been promoting this webinar, why would these people get involved with something like this? I mean, you guys aren't getting paid anything for this. You're not getting any kind of commission. You're not getting any kind of a kickback or an affiliate fee. Or why are you guys doing this? You're doing this because you understand what the mission is, and the mission is making the change the world's waiting for. This is what's etched on my wall. This is what in my office, and Greg, you've seen this, and Josh sees it every day. He's the one who's responsible for making sure the walls are clean so that everybody can see it all the time. The point is that there's stuff that's out there, and the universal consciousness is increasing. People are becoming more and more aware. Perfect example. Look what happened with H1N1. H1N1 has been this particular strain of H1N1. I don't want to get into a lot of the details of this. We're going to be providing that webinar. It's an hour and 30 minutes, hour and 45-minute webinar for you guys for free, but what happened with that thing? They were promoting. The President of the United States is in the media saying that he's expecting 20% of the United States population to die. That's 600,000. What is that? That's That's 20% would be what?
60
million people he was expecting to die, right? 60 million. Why was he expecting? He was right. That was what was going to happen. What he didn't count on was that the American public, just like the German and the European nations and many other places over the world, what they didn't expect was that the public would refuse to take the damn vaccine. And that's why we didn't have those casualties, because people refused to take the vaccine. If they had taken the vaccine, like everybody was pushing for them, believe me, we would have had 60 million deaths. More people died from the vaccine that took the vaccine than anybody else. In California, they had over 65 cases of H1N1 death. They didn't report it. Do you know why they didn't report it? Because all those people got the vaccine. They didn't report it. They didn't want it reported. So this issue with what the media does, I mean, you know, I thought PBS for sure would not be like this. PBS prevented the truth coming out. Just all sorts of different, I can give you example after example after example. When 2020 was here and when the on-air personality was interviewing me and he's saying, hey, well, come on now, Dr. Buttar, the type of stuff that you're doing is just not scientifically based. And I said, what do you mean not scientifically based? He goes, well, you know, these videos that you release and of the patients. He goes, that's anecdotal stuff. That's not scientifically based. And I said, excuse me, are you talking about the science? Are you talking about what type of science, what type of exact science are you talking about? He goes, you know, the scientific methodology, the evidence-based double-blind placebo-controlled method. And I said, are we talking, let me just make sure I'm straight, are we talking about the double-blind placebo-controlled crossover multi-center trials that allowed for the drugs such as Vioxx to become approved and caused 55,000 people to die before they took it off the market? Is that the type of science you're talking about? And he's just really quiet, and he's like, yeah. So remember, science is like a house, okay? Science is made up of facts, just like a house is made up of a bunch of bricks. But a bunch of facts do not make science any more than a bunch of bricks makes a house. So I want you to remember that. Now, I know we're running short in time, and Greg, I appreciate you for being here, and I appreciate you for taking the time. Unfortunately, we've got time constraints and to shake us up with that story. Every time I see a picture of Lindsay, I have an emotional response, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate your friendship. I appreciate your commitment to help, even though a lot of people would have probably just wanted to forget about what they experienced. But I know that every time you do something, you remember Lindsay, and that's you're doing it in her legacy, and I appreciate you for that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you, Dr. Buttar.
Thanks, Greg. So this is a mission, making the change the world's waiting for, and there are many other people that want to partake in this mission. And I will tell you that some of the most incredible people that I've met, like the host, Buck Rizvi here, like Eamon, like some of the other people that I've met, Eamon, the people that want to help with this, and the overwhelming support and the overwhelming desire to want to be part of something much bigger than any one of us individually has been just shattering for me. It's shocking to me. And I presented in Vancouver in front of some of the top internet marketers, in front of some very, very wealthy people, and not one single time did anybody come up and ask me. These are the professional people that make money by just promoting. They didn't ask me how much money did we get, what kind of commission. They just wanted to be a part of this. So what is the mission? The mission, as I said, is making the change the world's waiting for. And I need to be within the arena. I need to create the type of I need to be in an environment that I can attack. I know, Buck, you're going to hate me for saying this word, to attack the bastards that are not doing what they're supposed to be doing, that are I'm not averse to making money. I think that my God is a God of abundance, just like hopefully your God is a God of abundance. But to profit on people's misery is not right. To profit on people suffering is not right. To profit on children that are being damaged under the pretense of protecting them, when in actuality the powers that be know exactly what kind of a poison it is not right. It is not what God wants. I don't care what your God is or who he is. It is not what anybody's God wants. Now, I will give you an example. The Washington Redskins cheerleader that was going to die, that went from training for a marathon, and in less than a month and a half she was getting 60 seizures a day. That story went viral. We had 15 million hits on YouTube on that. It wasn't. We didn't even put the first video out. But what's incredible is that that's why 2020 and PBS and everybody wanted to interview me. But when I started talking about what the cause was, nobody wanted to report it. In fact, to PBS and for 2020, I told them, I said, listen, they both asked me the same question. What would you say to the people that say this is nothing more than witchcraft and hocus pocus and not scientific based, all your critics out there? I said, very simple. This is what I'll say to them. I challenge the National Institute of Health, the American Medical Association, every state medical board. I challenge you. You go out and you pick the 20 worst cases of autism you can find. And we just pick autism because autism affects, it's an emotional thing. It affects children. Pick the 20 worst cases, then send them to any university. Independent, third-party pediatric neurologists will evaluate those 20. They will evaluate the worst 10 out of those 20, and I will take those worst 10, and I will treat them. I will treat them for free, and you treat the rest of them, meaning the medical profession. You treat the other 10, and let the world decide. The only stipulation I have is everything's videotaped and everything's aired. Then you decide. Because you know what? I'm not doing anything except for taking out the garbage out of these kids, and they start coming back. So how do I get that? I need to get to the bestseller status, this book that we've written, the first one. My first book that I wrote, which is already completed, ready to go, Suppression of a Medical Miracle, the publishers wouldn't touch it. They were afraid of lawsuits. I said, what do you mean lawsuits? Nobody's going to sue. They said, sir, we are concerned about not patients or people suing. We're concerned about the American Medical Association, the Food and Drug Administration, the Federal Trade Commission. Those were the people that were afraid of suing. So that's one reason they wouldn't even do the first book. They wouldn't even publish it. They did this one because they said it was less controversial. 9 Steps to Keep a Doctor Away, I had to tone it down a lot. But the point is, that's what I need. I need this so that I can get for me to be able to beat the big dogs, I got to be allowed to in the arena of the big dogs, and that's what the goal is. Nasser, I'm coming back now. I'm pretty much done. I'm coming back to the 3 foundations here. The systemic detoxification, the immune modulation, the physiological optimization. Those 3 foundations are what the core is based on. The book, I promise anybody that's on this webinar, if you don't think that the book was everything that you expected, I would refund your money personally. And this isn't about money for me anyway, as it isn't for any of these other people promoting this. Nasser, you already know half the profits from the book are going into the foundation, right?
Yep.
Into the Absolute Children's Foundation. So that's basically my presentation. I think there's a couple of things from a business standpoint that you guys wanted to cover. You want me to talk about that?
Yeah, I do. I actually, and you can chime in here to help me out. But I wanted to say thank you very, very much, Dr. Buttar. And I know this is a very emotional, has been an emotional roller coaster for you even before you got to the webinar, and reliving some of this stuff. I really appreciate you sharing that with us. And the book, which I've had an opportunity to read a preview copy of, and thank you for sharing that with me. And I can tell you right now, because you and I had this conversation about the other book that was literally, you were about to publish it, and the publisher pulled it, and so you're publishing the 9 Steps to Keep the Doctor Away. I know you're saying you've toned it down, but I think you really only toned it down in title only. The content of the book is cutting edge, and it's not what anyone else is talking about. It's not what they're sharing, and in some circles it would be suppressed. So to know that organizations like PBS have been in 2020 have been at your office and had film crews and spent the money, but never aired the footage, just boggles my mind. But that being said, I know we talked about, at least some of the folks had heard that there's an opportunity to get involved with the mission, both in terms of helping others heal, helping parents understand what they can do to take care of the children, take care of themselves. But there's also a financial opportunity at some point that's part of this. But I'm not going to make a big deal about it. But there is for people that read the book, there's an opportunity to also add an income stream down the road if they want to. There's a gentleman I've actually known about this gentleman for the past 6 years, Paul Zane Pilzer, who wrote the book The Next $1 Trillion Industry, which is the health industry. And those are, the health and wellness industry, and what we're really talking about here is wellness, because as we all know, just coming out of the healthcare debacle and how we're going to fund it, everyone's talking about prevention really being the solution, not just healthcare, right? We want wellness, and there are a couple of books that Paul has written here, The Wellness Revolution here being another. So what I'd like to talk about is how people that are on the line with us can get involved if they want to get involved with the mission, if they liked what they heard on this call. And would you like to share a thought there, Dr. Buttar?
Yes, thank you, Nasser, for that. It's my brother is a big follower of Rich Man Poor, the author.
Robert Kiyosaki?
Robert Kiyosaki, yeah.
Yeah.
And he had gone to one of his seminars, and he came back and he called me and he said, "Do you have any idea where you're positioned?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" And he told me about this $1 trillion industry. It's $250 billion right now. And he said, "You're at the top of that industry, and you're about, when this thing goes up, you're going to be at the top of it." And I didn't know what he was talking about at the time, but what we have right now, the information, the technology, some of the things that we've gotten results with, it will be the revolution because it can reverse certain conditions that are considered non-reversible. But what Nasser just said about prevention, that's a very key component, prevention. But how do you prevent? I mean, if you've got a cancer, if you've got autism, or how do you prevent those things? And people talk about prevention. I've gone to conferences where they talk about prevention in the state of take a vaccine for prevention. And I'm like, what? You're going to take a vaccine? You're going to poison your system and suppress your immune system to try to, in the name of prevention? It's opposite, directly opposite. It's 180 degrees diametrically opposed to what the goal should be. So this book does outline all the things that you should be doing. It's about empowerment and taking control of your own body, taking control of your own health, so that you're never going to rely on somebody else. You're not going to rely on a doctor. You're not going to rely on the government. You're going to understand what you need to do. You're going to rely on your own intuitive intelligence to dictate what you do.
Well, I can tell you that you just covered one facet of the book, which is detoxification, and there's many other facets that are covered in the 9 steps that everyone needs to have. And I can tell you also that you are not trying to create a dependency upon you as a physician or any other doctor for that matter, and I can absolutely second what you just said. So that, very, very, it's all about self-empowerment and getting the message out, and that's why I'm involved. You were asking why I decided to get behind this thing, even though I'm not receiving any financial compensation for this, for doing this webinar. I believe in your mission. I believe in what you're doing, and I'm really proud to be a part of it. And that's why I invited my folks to join this.
Well, thank you, Nasser, for that too. And I really appreciate what everybody's doing, but I also want to make people. I want to reward them. I want them to be able to create a revenue stream that empowers them. Remember what I said originally about the toxicity. The commonality between all the 7 toxicities is oxidative stress. The one component of oxidative stress is just overall. In fact, Nasser, let me just ask you this: what would you say is the number one stressor on the entire planet right now?
Right now in this day and age, it's probably having enough money.
That's right.
Income,
financial. That's exactly right. And that oxidative stress is just as potent as the heavy metal or the persistent organic pollutant or the electromagnetic radiation that you're being exposed to. The emotional, psychological component of this is one of the biggest things. In fact, I've never seen a cancer patient yet that did not have a significant emotional, psychological issue going on. And this financial thing is a very big component of that. So we don't have time to talk about the actual component that I'd like to, but we're going to spend a very, very short bit of time. There is a product that is called Transdtropin. That is a product that was developed 12 years ago. The product is something that all I can tell you is that there's a spirit behind it, and there have been people that have used it. In fact, Nasser, you've used it. You know the power of it. It is a product that will, in my opinion, revolutionize the world. It already has. 22.7 million doses dispensed as of January 2008. Over 1,890 doctors in 27 different countries have dispensed it. It has survived in the most difficult marketplace, which is exclusively the medical marketplace, and it's been, like I said, on the market for almost 12 years now. Longevity is the biggest concern of the current baby boomer. There's a lot of products out there that claim anti-aging longevity properties. I'm here to tell you that it is all hocus-pocus BS, including growth hormone injection therapy, which actually promotes cancer. And if you want to know about that, there's a DVD that you can get that explains all that too. And we will give you a way to get all these DVDs.
Well, it's also in the book.
It's also in the book, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly. That's right. Thank you for reminding me.
Right.
That's right. Now, here's what I want you to remember. The only thing that has scientifically been proven to extend life is caloric restriction. caloric restriction, meaning reducing calories by 30%, increased lifespan in first insects, then monkeys, then mice, and then rats, and then monkeys by approximately the same amount. You reduce caloric intake by 30%, you increase lifespan by about 20 to 30%. That is the only thing ever scientifically proven to increase life. In those studies that were done in the 1970s and 1980s, they saw growth hormone levels going up in these animals. And so that's what started the current craze of growth hormone. But what they didn't look at was the rest of the studies. That the rest of the studies showed that the blood parameters, not only did growth hormone go up, but a substance called IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor, went down. But when you inject growth hormone into your body, the doctors are trying to drive your IGF-1 up. And IGF going up is correlated with cancer. In fact, my last patient today, Doctor, you remember when you were trying to get a hold of me and I told you I was late for a patient? Yeah. My last patient was taking growth hormone and testosterone and got cancer, and this is patients here right now. It is a common problem. I know because I deal with cancer patients. That's what I take care of. This book explains all this, explains the science behind it, but the fact that in the true longevity, the caloric restriction, you saw an increase in growth hormone, and you saw a decrease in IGF-1, decrease in insulin, decrease in cortisol. Well, I've got good news for you. The only product on the planet that does the same thing as caloric restriction without having to reduce your calories by 30% is transutropin. It increases growth hormone, decreases IGF-1, decreases insulin, and decreases cortisol. So that's all I'm going to say about the product. You can read about it, but there is a way that you can make money with this from a referral program we have set up. And Josh, you want to explain that?
Yeah, we do have a referral program for the transutropin product that allows you to get an affiliate code or a source code, and that's actually going to be, if you tell a friend, if you set up the referral program or start telling your friends through the 9 Steps website about the book, your number is actually the same at the transutropin website. But essentially, the first thing you need to do is you need to try the product yourself. Our system does not let you enroll at the transutropin website unless you've actually bought the product yourself.
Let me just mention that the reason for that is, and also you probably agree with me that there's a huge problem with integrity of products that are being marketed in the marketplace, including the pharmaceuticals and such. We did not want anybody referring or recommending the product unless they had actually used the product themselves. And so that's, in fact, nobody even knows that there's a referral program on this product. In fact, the webinar attendees are hearing about it, but normally nobody would know about it.
No, I mean, we don't want anyone making a recommendation that's not based on personal experience. It just doesn't make sense.
Exactly. So that's the first step, is to try it yourself, and then you'll have an affiliate code that you can give to your list and your customers and everybody, and that affiliate code allows the customer to come back to the transutropin website, order a bottle for themselves, they plug in your number, and they get $20 off their first order. So that's one way that we ensure that we make sure that they utilize your affiliate code so that you get those sales tracked back to you. And we pay 15% on the first level commissions, and then as those people start to use the product and they learn about our referral program and start telling their friends and family, you'll actually earn 10% on their second level as well. So typically that's anywhere from $24 to $26, $27 per bottle of transutropin. We also find that I think the percentage is greater than 80%. 80% of the people that use transutropin stay on the auto ship program, which means that they get a regular monthly shipment of products. So you continue to earn that $24, $25 every time their monthly auto ship processes. So the amount that folks are earning snowballs quite rapidly as they begin to use the product and they begin to tell others about it. So,
and one of the things that I wanted, this was something that was brought to my attention because I wrote about Trancy because I thought it was such an important component. That's actually the 9th step. But I was told that book actually is the way that people, when they learn about the book, when they read the book, when they get the information in the book, that is one thing that everybody wants to try. In fact, Nasser, I don't think I ever talked to you about Trancy, did I?
No, and I read the book, and I saw the 9th step, and I realized that I'm 45, so I actually needed that level of optimization, and I wanted to apply that to myself, just because I've done a lot of study on HGH and how those levels decline with aging. And I've used the product, and I can tell you the physiological change that it had in me in just a few short days of using it. Very, very pleasantly surprised at the changes, let me just say. So
There's a reason that so many doctors have used this for so many different countries. The site, which is being redone right now, shows over 200 celebrities and athletes and all sorts of different people, doctors worldwide that are using the product. The product's never been marketed. This is the first time ever after 12 years being on the market that it's actually going to be marketed. This would be considered marketing, I guess, for the product. And I won't talk any more about this. This is really about the mission. The mission is something that is to my, that's what talks to me. This is what's important. If you guys see the benefit of this product, you want to try it, great. If not, no problem. But what I want you to do is I want you to know a couple things, and those couple things are right now, the book is the key. We have to get this book up there and become a bestseller status in order to give me the ability to be able to confront those people that will not let the world know the truth. We're doing the best we can, but once it gets up to that point, then people are going to have a harder time,
Well, it's really, Dr. Buttar, it's really a movement. And I think, just based on the audience participation right now, we're actually able to see the number of people, and everyone has been really with us from the entire get-go of this presentation.
I can't believe we had over 30,000 people register for those seven.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
So, I think the reason I'm a part of this movement, I think that the reason why people that are on the call and staying with us want to be kind of considering being a part of this movement is, to help provide that platform so that, the establishment, which might include the media, cannot ignore this message, and that it can help more people, more children, more families avoid the kind of problems that have occurred in the past.
Well, I appreciate that segue too, because that brings us to this portion, which I think we need to talk about right now, sir. The DVDs.
Yeah.
The DVDs are something that I put together. This is proof of what I've talked about. It documents the courses of patients in their own words and their own video. It explains all the different topics. There's 12 different DVDs, of which 6 are done. They retail on Amazon.com, on Medical Series, on different websites for $89.55 each. And you get any one of these DVDs you want for free for every book that you order. You order one book, you get one DVD. You want, all 6 DVDs, then a lot of people get 6 books. And so these are the different books, the DVDs, the 9 Steps to Optimum Health, Heavy Metal Toxicity, The Hidden Killer, Autism, Misdiagnosis of Our Future Generations. There's one on heart disease. They call the Sudden Cardiac Death, #1 symptom of heart disease. Know Your Options, Cancer, The Untold Truth. That's one of them. Then the heart disease one. I skipped over that one by accident. Sorry about that. And then there's one on longevity, on true longevity, Transutropin Revolutionary Life Enhancement. So those are the first 6 that are done. Those are available right now, and people have been ordering the books just to get the DVD for free. So normally you could buy the DVD for $89.55, or you can buy the book. Not as you said, it's what you said, it was a brain, I can't remember the term that you used.
The no-brainer?
No-brainer. Thank you. Right.
Yeah, I tell you what, a lot of people go to health seminars. They're seeing alternative doctors like yourself, which, as I mentioned, you can't even get in to see you at your practice right now because the waiting list is so long that probably people would be looking at other alternatives. But this is an opportunity to hear you speaking and on these topics in great detail that are affecting. It sounds like you're covering that 92.5% of the deaths, reason why people die, in these videos and how they can avoid those issues, right?
That's exactly right. In fact, the training program for doctors that we have called the ANSWER program, which is what the foundation was named after, it focuses on heart disease, cancer, and neurodegenerative disease so that from a triage mentality, you're taking care of the vast majority of the cause of the death. That's exactly right, Nasser. So the next 6 DVDs that are not available yet, I'll just show them real quick. There's the one on energetic medicine. There's one on the politics of medicine. There's one on Vastu. Vastu is amazing. If you guys know anything about Vastu, if you don't, this would be a great DVD. It's essentially the origins of feng shui. It's an Ayurvedic Sanskrit type back from India. Vastu is all about energetics and where you live and how to optimize that from an energetic standpoint. One of my favorite ones is the 5th toxicity, which is what I talked about, the emotional psychological component, breaking through personal barriers. Huge.
Well, that was what the financial worries would fall into that category, wouldn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. A huge component in chronic disease. And then these last 2 people have been constantly calling about these last 2, which again still are not done. One is unlocking your metabolic signature, key to gaining health and losing fat forever. By the way, now, so just so you know, that is a cross-section of an obese person. You can see that on the...
That is really gross, Dr. Buttar. Too much information.
Too much information, right. And then the last one is the ultimate detoxification, the secret to longevity. So you'll notice that the three foundations that I mentioned originally, the three foundations, the first one was systemic detoxification. That was the most important. Now, and then, of course, the second one is the immune modulation, and the third one is the physiological optimization, which TransD actually comes into play. So I'm actually done here. I'm going to kind of tell you guys a couple of things, if I may. There's two favorite quotes. There's no controversy. Failure of others who recognize the facts does not change the truth. That is something that my dad once said to me, and it's something that a lot of people have said. I want you to remember that, too, that the failure of others to recognize the facts does not change the truth. Remember that.
Very, very good, Dr. Buttar. Thank you very much. So...
And Doctor, actually, this can I, if I may,
sure,
just mention one other thing here. This is the quote: "Each progressive spirit is opposed by 1,000 mediocre minds appointed to guard the path." And one of the questions that came across the survey, and I saw this question pop up about 9 different times, but it was the first time when I saw it when the first survey was first sent out. The question was amazing. It said, "How do you convince people to listen when you know that what they believe is wrong, and I'm trying to explain to them, but they don't listen? How do you get a person to sit down so I can explain to them the vaccine issue?" This was an attendee that asked me this. And I wonder, because he was expressing his frustration that he wanted to help people understand, but nobody would listen, nobody would believe. That's where this mission comes in, because now this book, you don't have to explain anything. The book explains it. Look, I'm no different than you. I put on my pants the same way as everybody else does. The difference is I may have a couple of other letters after my name, and people may more listen to me because I'm a physician, but the book now does all that talking for you. And that's one reason I want you to help me to get it where it needs to be. But remember this, for that person and for the other 6 or 7 people that, or actually 8 other people that felt that way about how do we explain this to our family and friends, each progressive spirit is opposed by 1,000 mediocre minds. So you are the progressive spirit. Until you've encountered 1,000 mediocre minds, you have not passed the test yet. So just remember that. Don't give up. The truth will always eventually sustain itself. So
I'll go back to that reference, because it was Nicholas Copernicus who was reburied with honors.
Oh, was it Copernicus? Okay.
Yeah, last month this year, he was reburied with honors because he was buried in an unmarked grave because he was in disgrace when he was buried because he said the sun is the center of our solar system, right?
I think Galileo was he the one who was burned? I can't remember now. One of them was burned.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
So you're certainly not going to meet that kind of fate, Dr. Buttar. But you are bearing some, obviously bearing your own set of disbelievers at the moment, and I think we have a lot of people that are interested in what maybe being a part of this, and as I am.
Well, this is a big place where people can get the free Medical Secrets audio series. There's no commitment, nothing. It's just some gift that we want to give you. It's 15 to 20-minute audio segments you can get. Just go to the clinic website, which is drbuttar.com, and you can click on this little symbol right here, the little yellow gift, and you can get those audio secrets. And it's been very popular. People have really enjoyed them. So that's one thing that we wanted to give to you guys. The next thing is the facts on toxicity that I mentioned before. These are the 9 videos online. You can just go to factsontoxicity.com, and you don't even have to register. I don't think till the 3rd video you have to register, but you can watch these videos. They explain the 7 toxicities, which is also covered in the book, but they explain it visually, and it will give you all the information you need to take the next step.
Well, while you're giving links, a lot of people are asking the website for the name of the product, the TransD-Tropin.
That's right, and we're actually going to reveal how they can get into that process. So. Really, the big purpose, the mission to get involved in this mission to change the world is ready. Ready for. The mission to get behind this is to really to help educate you about the details of the 9 steps. Is to get your personal copy of the 9 steps to keep the doctor away. And so I'm about to share a link with you on how you can get that. Pre-order the 9 steps to keep the doctor away. Doctor, were we going to do what we talked about earlier? About the
Yes, we actually, it's already been done. You told me, I wish next time just give me a little bit more notice than like a half an hour before that you want to give them something like that. But you know what, I agree with you, and Josh bent over backwards and made it happen. So you talk about the electronic copy of the book?
Yeah, I mean, we chatted about that, and you
I agree with you. I totally agree with you. You're absolutely 100% right. We should do that, okay. And so you can tell them what we...
All right. So what we're going to do is, even though the book is not yet available for sale so this is a pre-order of the book before it's even shipping yet.
By the way, it's printed. It's in the process of getting to the distributor, so it's all done.
Right.
It's supposed to be, I think, the 21st of June they're going to be shipping.
But we know that people do not want to wait probably even 1 minute after this call to get it onto their computers, maybe forward it to their Kindles if they have that, and start reading it immediately. So Dr. Buttar has very graciously decided that if people order the book through this program on the webinar tonight, that they are actually, if they do it through this webinar, that they'll be able to get an electronic copy of the book emailed to them or download a download link to it. So the goal is, are we up to the challenge to help Dr. Buttar in this mission and get the 9 steps to keep the doctor away to the bestseller status? And what we decided to do is put together, not that you need an incentive to read the book, because no one should, I think, after having been to that presentation, should need any incentive other than just, look, I want to live a happy, healthier life. But we've decided to put together some special bonuses if you decide to get to be a part of this and buy the book. Number one is if you buy 1 copy of the book via the link that I'll share in just a moment. In fact, do we want to just go ahead and roll to the link so people can kind of take a look at it now while I'm describing what they get?
Sure. Josh,
so if they buy 1 copy of the book, they're going to get 3.
I don't think that's on that. That's just the regular. They can show the 9 steps and do that. The 1 copy of the book, that's not on the special link.
Okay, but we also, do we want to honor the electronic copy for those folks as well?
I think we'd have to send that because it's not set up for that. It was only set up for because we've had a lot of people, and let me just, for the listeners,
okay.
There's been a lot of people that have actually called and said, I want to help. How many books can I buy? And
okay.
They want to give it away as gifts. Some of the people, in fact,
gotcha.
want to do that. You asked me about that, so we already did the bundle aspect. So, but we can do that for the people who online tonight.
Okay, great. Well, the special bundles that we put together for the call tonight, because we know that you probably have friends and family that you'd like to share the book with as well, is at that web address there, the www.the9steps.com/webinar special. And is that capital W, capital S, Josh?
It can work with or without the capital.
With or without the capitals, okay. But if you go to that URL, we put together some bundles. I'll give you a quick synopsis of the bundles here.
Before you do that, if I can just interject, did they get I think they got a link sent to their email, and actually all they have to do is click on it, and that will really take them. That's probably the better way of doing it, but it
very good. Yeah, double check your email account. You probably have an email from us with the link to check out the bundles. And I'll just quickly summarize the bundles and let Dr. Buttar share any details on the individual items. But there's a 6-book bundle that includes the 6 hardcover copies of the 9 Steps to Keep the Doctor Away. That's $143.70 retail value. There is a full set of the 6 DVDs that Dr. Buttar shared with you. So instead of having to pick and choose which DVD you'd want, you get all 6 DVDs. Those are normally sold for close to $90 a copy each DVD. So that's a $537.30 retail value. And we mentioned the trans-D-tropin. I know Dr. Buttar didn't even have an opportunity to go in detail all the amazing science behind trans-D and all the other benefits that it can help you with your life in terms of helping your body naturally boost your HGH levels, keep the IGF-1 levels down, and the physical benefits that you'll realize from that. But he's including a bottle of the trans-D-tropin product that has been on the market for 10 years, millions and millions of doses already dispensed via 1,800 doctors. That's $195 retail value. And he's going to include free shipping for that box, that bundle there. The bundle price for all of those things is $249 for the 6 books. Now, there are a couple of other packages. There's a 32-book or 2-case bundle that includes everything that I described earlier, but it also includes eligibility for a very special contest. The top 5 people that participate in this and move the most books, if you will, or recommend the most people to purchase these books, will be eligible to participate in a 3-day retreat with Dr. Buttar and our personal friend Eamon he's going to have I don't know the location yet, but I know it's going to be oceanside with a special bungalow. So they're going to have a private bungalow, Dr. Buttar, is that right?
Each one of the people will have their own private bungalow on the ocean. And we're shutting the whole resort down just for these people. The reason I want to make sure I explain this, because this is going to be a group that's going to sit there, because these are the people that have performed. These are the people that I want involved with the next step of the mission, and they need to know what's happening. And that's one reason we're shutting everything else down. It'll just be for them and their spouse, and a total of a couple key people, but Eamon, myself, and these top 5 winners, as well as a couple of other key players.
Great. And at an exclusive private, to be face-to-face with you, bring your spouse, and have that kind of access is unprecedented. And obviously some of the discussions are going to be around the global mission that we discussed previously. That's at the 32-book level. That's a $1,538 value for $749. There's a 64-book bundle option that includes everything that we just described. Do I have that right? Plus, there are 2 free tickets to Dr. Buttar's next Build a Successful Life seminar. And I know that these have been sold-out events that you put on. The value of this entire bundle is $4,329.10. That'll be for $1,449. All these details are on that website, www.the9steps.com/webinar special, or /webinar special, sorry. There's a 160-book bundle that's 10 cases, includes everything that we described previously, including the going on to the private resort, or eligibility to go on the private resort.
Yeah, I want to stress that. Not that's they're eligible. They're not.
It's eligibility based on them being in the top 5. I understand that. And then
Successful Life Seminars are 2 tickets. That's not just 1.
2 tickets to the Build a Successful Life seminar with Dr. Buttar. And at the 160-book level, there's actually a private consultation with Dr. Buttar. I would do this just for the consultation alone, because Dr. Buttar you are just not available. As I understand it, there's like an 18-month waiting list to get in to see you.
It's not quite that long right now. The longest it's been 23 months. We're less than that right now, quite a bit less than that right now, but it has been. It's picking up. It's going crazy. It's getting crazy right now. Okay. We're not at 23 months yet, again, like we were before, but
right. So you're including a private consultation, a video face-to-face via video Skype session. Maybe we just heard the Apple announcement. Maybe you'll be using the Apple FaceTime technology on the iPhone. Who knows? But it will be a face-to-face video session with Dr. Buttar, and that's a $7,468 value for $2,889. And the biggest bundle, obviously this has the biggest bang for the buck, if you will, is 240 books. That's 15 cases. Everything that we included previously, plus Dr. Buttar is putting together let's call it the inner circle, to be in the inner circle, right, with Dr. Buttar. And it's hard to describe, because I've been a part of a number of masterminds, and I'm really proud to be a part of your mastermind, Dr. Buttar, is to be, it's limited to just 20 people, to be in the inner circle with Dr. Buttar, to have access to him, to be able to mastermind and brainstorm, be a part of the mission, some of the planning that's going on for some of the other things that haven't even been talked about yet that you'll have access to. Do you want to share a little bit more detail about what you envision for this inner circle, Dr. Buttar?
Yeah, actually, I've had an inner circle before. It's only 4 people that paid the money, which was $25,000, and actually it was a test to see whether people would actually, because I don't want people that aren't going to take action to become a part of this. They were all 4 were doctors, part of the Physicians Medical Mastermind Alliance that I created, and 4 doctors chose to go ahead and do that. And I will tell you that all 4 made their money back plus more within the first month. And one of the doctors, Dr. Bernhoff, who may be on this call, I had a conversation with him as we were flying back from a meeting. And I said, Robin, I'm just curious, why you're the only doctor that everything that I've ever recommended you've done. And I'm just curious why. And he said, well, maybe because we're both surgically trained. And I said, no, because there's been other surgeons that also been part of the group, and they haven't done that. And he said, there's got to be something else. And he said, well, I'll tell you, the most basic reason is because every time I've done something you've recommended, I've made a lot of money at it. And so the mastermind, the inner mastermind, is not only about access to me. I mean, I'm like Nasser, you and I, I'm just another person, but the inner circle is really about opportunities and like the medical resorts and having the first shot at some of these investments. And some of these investments are, we're talking about just crazy, crazy returns. Why is it that some of the situations that I've been in before, I've been able to make a lot of money, and it's because of the investment aspect. For instance, the medical resorts, when somebody buys a condominium at a resort, they're only getting the rental revenue. What we've got is with the medical resorts, we're going to be sharing in the medical revenue, the food revenue, and the rental revenue. Now, that comes out to like a 95 to 110% rate of return on your money. So after the first year, everything else is gravy. Those type of opportunities are only going to be given to those people, because I know that they're committed. I know that they want to help with the mission. I know their heart's in the right place. I know they're doing it for the right reasons. I know that they're part of the type of people that I want to be around. And so I want to give them those type of opportunities. As I'm getting them, I want to give them. And we've got, the reason we're limiting it to 20 is because we don't need a lot of people, but we need to be fast, and need to be able to maneuver. If you have a large group of people, you can't do that. And I've been part of these inner circles too myself, and it's called an inner circle, but they're just trying to get people's money. I'm not interested in people's money. God's been very, very, He's blessed me, so I don't need anybody else's money for that. I just want people that are going to take action. I don't want to be around people that don't take action, that are, poor me, that type of attitude. I want people that are going to move forward and take action.
Okay, well, Dr. Buttar, here's what I'm going to do, because you and I are friends. I haven't even talked to you about this. I would like to take one of the 20 slots right now myself. I'm going to buy 240 books right now from you. So now there's only 19 slots available in the inner circle. I'm taking one off the table immediately. So,
I'll tell you, this is actually funny, because I know some people may think this is orchestrated, but I
know, man.
In my life,
I didn't tell you this, so I'm going to take it off the table right now, and I'm looking forward to my video Skype consultation.
I would have done it for you anyway. So
I know that, but this makes it really special for me, because I truly, truly believe that what you give comes back manyfold. I don't care, what faith people subscribe to. I think people generally know that to be true, that have wisdom or achieve some level of wisdom. So I'm looking for. So put me down for that. I'm excited about that. Thank you, Doctor. Now that I reread what all that entails, that's 240 books, $34,449.30 value for $4,339 for that. And obviously, I'm sure there's people on the line that might be entrepreneurs, they may be business owners, they may have employees or what have you, other organizations, and they want to share this. They want to share this book and get this message out there. So I think that's a perfect way to go about doing that and helping with the cause. Josh, can you flip to the other slide that shows the webinar? Because I think there was a delay in the email getting out with the link. So we need the webinar special, or maybe I can just click on it now. But it's www.the9steps.com/webinar special. The 9 steps is spelled, by the way, THE, the numeral 9 steps.com. So it's www.the9steps.com/webinar special. And you can go and take a look at the different package offerings there. I would encourage you to consider the bigger bundles, just because the value associated with this. And I know that it's already set up to get you the digital copy of the 9 steps, so you can start looking at that right away. Do know that digital copy is reserved for you. That is your personal copy, so that you can review that yourself, have that on your Kindle. Obviously, it's not for you to distribute out and share with others, because that would that's obviously an intellectual property issue, but it also violates agreements that Dr. Buttar has with his publisher, and sort of defeats the purpose of the book getting onto the bestseller list, if you will.
When they get to that link to that page after they've purchased the book or the bundles, as I understand it, the password is there. They need to write that password down, otherwise they won't be able to access the file because it's password protected.
Okay.
So if they could just do that, make sure that they write that down. I want to tell you now.
So, hey, Dr. Buttar, why don't we get to some questions? Does that sound good? While we're, and as people are looking, I know that there's been, my goodness, over 220 questions now posed. So we're going to have to burn through many of these very, very quickly and try to. But let me start from the beginning. And here's a quick question about what is your take on glutathione on detoxing the body, since it's the number one antioxidant of the body?
Glutathione is fantastic. It is not very well absorbed orally. There's some companies that claim that it is, but we give it intravenously. The thing is that glutathione is a sulfhydryl group donator, so it actually acts up as a mopping agent. So if you gave somebody with mercury toxicity glutathione, you're not going to increase any mercury out of their system. But if you give it with a chelator like DMPS, you're going to actually have a tremendous amount of mercury coming out, and then the glutathione will actually double the load because the DMPS is breaking the mercury away from the terminal end of the protein, the sulfhydryl group, and then the glutathione acts as a sulfur donator, and it basically mops it up. Maybe that's too technical of an answer, but yes, it's a very good component of detoxification of the body. Glutathione is found in every cell of the body.
That's okay, perfect. Dr. Buttar, what can be done for short-term memory loss?
You need to be assessed. The very first thing in my book, which would be assessed for metals, because it's going to be affecting. In fact, on the heavy metal toxicity, the Hidden Killer DVD, we have University of Calgary's footage of what happens to the brain tissue when exposed to mercury.
Perfect. Do you have any feelings about nutritional cleansing and colonics? Do you have any recommendation? Do you recommend them? Do you have patients that do them? What's your take?
So colonics are very important, very effective. I think that it's a good basic way of getting the gut cleaned up, but it's not really working on the gut on a microscopic level. It's a more macroscopic type of detox. So I do believe in colonics. I think they are good. I think people can achieve the same result with coffee enema type scenarios, and overall it is good. It's not something that I would tell people to do on a everyday basis or anything like that, because you can't hurt yourself by doing too many colonics.
Okay, very good. I know that this may steal a little bit of thunder from your upcoming DVD. We got someone that they've lost some weight, but they would like to accelerate the results. What suggestions can you make based on your experience?
Actually, there's a whole section on that in the book, if you remember, Nasser, on step number 2 and step number 3.
You're right.
3 different. And
Can you share 1 point or maybe a point or two or something?
Sure, absolutely. Yeah. One of the things that people can do is start drinking 2/3 of their body weight in ounces of water every day. That is going to have a huge effect. It's going to make you feel better, but it's going to do some other things too. And I'll just explain it this way. Fat is a sponge that holds on to toxins. And an adage we used to use in general surgery was a solution to pollution is dilution. So if you can dilute your system by drinking a lot of water, and 2/3 your body weight in ounces is an ideal amount of water, we're in a chronic state of dehydration, that in itself is going to start the metabolic pathways working, and it's going to start to help you, your metabolism to come back online, so you're going to start burning off fat. Just that one technique, but you got to combine it with a couple of different things, and it's all explained in the book.
That one's huge. How can I get a better night's sleep, Dr. Buttar?
Well, I can tell you, and I can almost guarantee you this one. Yeah, would you say that?
I was putting mine on while you were talking about it.
Right, Trans-D.
I was going to say, yeah, that's actually one of the big benefits of Trans-D-Tropin is that you sleep like a baby and dream vividly.
I'm only in my mid-30s, but that's like the greatest benefit. I can tell the nights that I take it and don't take it.
In fact, one of the things is that just your ability to function right now, Nasser. I've slept maybe 45 minutes since today's what? Today's Tuesday? No, today's Thursday.
Tuesday.
Today's Tuesday. Okay, so I've slept since Sunday night. I've only slept about an hour and a half. And if it wasn't for Trans-D, if I don't take my Trans-D, honestly, it just sounds like, of course, I'm biased, but it allows me to function without sleep for a lot longer periods than I do without it. So,
yeah, the energy boost is phenomenal. So, I know we talked about people if they're checking out the bundles that we talked about, the webinar. You should be getting an email. I think there was a delay in the emails getting out to everybody, but you can go to that URL, www.the9steps.com/webinar special. That's THE9steps.com/webinar special. So the next question that came in was, we've got somebody experiencing chemical sensitivity, apparently, that's resulting in daily headaches.
Okay.
Chemicals. So it seems that they think they're sensitive to chemicals.
Okay. I guess it's a difficult question to answer. If a person has chemical sensitivity, they've got a issue with their immune system, and it's a hyperactive immune system. And this is something that it could mean a couple of different things, and without doing some further testing and knowing, because they could have an SIGA secretory immunoglobulin issue going on. They could have leaky gut syndrome going on that's allowing them to become more sensitive to their environment. They could be, they may have just become oversensitized because they've been using the same type of substances like perfumes or, so it's kind of that's kind of a more a workup type thing to find out what the cause is. The end result may be the same, but there's multiple causes that can lead to it.
Now, isn't there, when they purchase the book, don't they get access to the resources, including referral physicians that they can go and get these tests run?
Absolutely. We've got a very specific group of doctors that are trained, that have gone through specific training with me, and those are the doctors that I would trust with my family members too. There's not a lot of them, but we've had almost 60 doctors that have gone through the training program. Unfortunately, a lot of them have not decided to do all the stuff they've been trained to do, only because they're fearful of what the ramifications on the medical board would be. Each one of these doctors spent a lot of money to come through the courses. They had a 100% money-back guarantee after coming through the course, and not one of them has ever asked for their money back. But they're scared to do all the things that they learned, and so that's one issue that we've had, but we do have a network of physicians.
Okay, beautiful. Someone, and I personally have had this myself, recurring acid indigestion at night, waking up with acid indigestion.
Say that one more time?
Pretty common thing. Acid indigestion at night and waking up as a result of that.
Okay, that means there's a couple of things there. Very simply, you should, one, eat food. Instead of eating whatever you're eating right now and then going to sleep, you need to have a longer interval between when you eat and going to sleep. Also, elevate your head a little bit and start with some digestive enzymes, and that problem will resolve itself short of nothing else major going on. Like, God forbid, something else that's major, like there could be mass effect going on from a tumor or something like that, but that's just generally not the issue. And this is when we don't like necessarily talking and giving medical advice, because this isn't medical advice. So it's very important that you don't construe this as medical advice, whoever's listening to this question. But I want you to understand that the digestive enzymes is a problem in our society. We don't have enough digestive enzymes, and then we start taking the Carafates and the H2 blockers like Zantac and Tagamet, and then we get into the acid pump inhibitors like the Propulsid and some of these other things, Prilosec, that suppress the amount of digestive enzymes. And so when we eat the food can't get digested. We regurgitate it. It comes up. It's an acid reflux. So what you want to do is actually start taking some digestive enzymes, eat smaller amounts of meals, and make sure you don't eat right before going to bed. Wait at least 3 hours. Eat and then wait at least 3 hours before you go to bed, and then you're not going to have a problem.
It's going to solve my acid reflux problem at night is I stopped eating late at night. So that
digestive enzymes will really help too.
Yeah, huge. Okay, excellent. There's a number of questions about mercury fillings. It seems you really struck a chord because I'm sitting here. I still have I'm 45, so I have ancient fillings in my mouth. The silvery metal fillings, and I'm sure those are the mercury fillings. So you recommended getting those removed. One person was, so I just want to reconfirm that you're saying that people should get those removed by someone that knows what they're doing. Any thoughts or recommendations there on just finding the right dentist that can do it properly without exposing you to more mercury?
Yes, IAOMT.org, I believe, is a website. IAOMT, the International Oral Maxillofacial Toxicology Association, I believe.
International Academy of
Okay, American Academy of Oral Maxillofacial Toxicologists.
International Academy of Oral Medicine and Toxicology.
Oh, Oral Medicine and Toxicology. I've lectured there. I'm even a member of it. I just don't know what it's called. Okay, it's IAOMT.org. .org.
Yeah, you had the letters right in the domain right.
IAOMT.org. Go check it out. They can refer you to the right doc to remove the mercury fillings.
That'll be for the dentist, the right dentist, and for the right doctor to treat you, because remember, that's only taking the amalgam out of your mouth that you still got in your body. For the right doctor, it's abcmt.org. and that's American Board of Clinical Metal Toxicology.org. I'm the chairman of that organization. That's ABCMT, and I know that name.
Is there, someone's asking, is there a symptom or set of symptoms that you would see if the mercury fillings were removed the wrong way and they were exposed to mercury, like you described with the thermometer?
Yes, you would have a worsening of whatever symptomology led you to this in the first place, and it's the great masquerader. It could be anything. All the things that I described with that lady Karen, pain, aches, headache, visual disturbances, ataxic gait, hormonal issues, vaginal dryness, anxiety, depression, the whole gamut. And we cover some of that stuff in the book, and also the facts and toxicity covers some of that.
Do you have any takes on the use of hydrogen peroxide in the treatment of cancer, HIV, other conditions?
Yes, we use it in our clinic. It's very, very good. That doesn't mean that people can use it orally necessarily. I don't know much about that. I've never used it orally, but you got to be careful using things like that because they can be kind of caustic. But intravenously, absolutely. In fact, that's one of the reasons the medical board came after us, and we use it on a regular basis.
Okay, fair enough. I do want to remind folks that they should be getting that email from us shortly. So be patient if you haven't already dialed up the website. I'd still recommend that you just go ahead and type in this address, www.the9steps.com/webinar special. That's THE9steps.com/webinar special. Those bundles are there from the 6-book bundle. I've gone ahead and taken the 240-book bundle, one of the 20 sets off the table there, but there are 19 slots in the inner circle. All of this is additive, so anything that you get in one of the smaller bundles, you also get in the bigger bundles, plus the additional items listed at the bottom there. So let's continue on here with the questions. And there's some really good ones here, Doctor. I'm skimming through here. One big question that's being asked is, can folks have access to a replay of this webinar? And I think while that would be interesting, all of the material, all of the information that's being shared, this is actually a summary of what's covered in the book.
Yes, that's true. That's absolutely true. And we probably are going to do the webinar, put it up somewhere. I think it's probably going to end up being under one of the ways that people can help to promote the book and help to contribute to the cause to make change the world waiting for, where we'll make the webinar. It'll probably be a cost to it, but if they have the individual source code, and as soon as somebody orders a book, they get their source code right away, their affiliate code right away. It's part of the system. That's the page that you get ended to, right, Josh? So you can go into business for yourself immediately tonight as soon as you place your order, and that number, it'll say this is your source code, which is the same as your affiliate code. That affiliate code will allow you to give access to anybody you refer to the website to the videos that normally people would have to be charged for. In fact, we're probably going to put the webinar for the vaccines. Maybe we should put that on here, and we'll make it acceptable to anybody with a source code. If not, then they just pay for it. Right. And also, not that you and I discussed this, but you were there at the presentation in Vancouver. I did get word today that will be edited and completed by next Monday, and a lot of people paid a lot of money to go see that presentation. That presentation is it's partially medical, but I don't know how you describe it since you saw it, Nasser, but we're going to have that also on the website, and there'll be a charge of $89 to view that unless the person has a source code. If they have a source code, they plug that in, and they can give it to anybody, and they can use that as a marketing tool to tell anybody they can go watch this video. It's an hour and 45-minute long presentation. And
that's fabulous, Dr. Buttar. So here's a great question. I'm actually interested in this one, too. I know there's a growing issue with prostate problems, prostate cancer, prostatitis, or whatever it's called. Is this growing PSA issue, because that's one of the tests, right? You test for that. Is that related to metal toxicity? Is there a correlation?
There's a correlation between metal toxicity and all cancers, but not necessarily specifically with prostate. But there are issues with that's kind of a complicated question. But cancer, yes, is related to metal issues. Prostate per se, I would not say it's necessarily related to the prostate, but there are specific things. Prostate cancer, breast cancer, they're very, very rampant, and they're increasing in incidence, and it's because we're living in a toxic world and we're not detoxifying our bodies. It's not just metal. It goes on beyond that. And I would recommend for that person to go watch the the facts on toxicity and watch the videos, the 9 videos that talk about the 7 toxicities there.
Okay. Thank you very much. I was a smoker for many years, and someone's asking a question here as well. So I'm seeing a lot of these that are relevant to me as well. But so beyond the obvious dangers of smoking that everyone talks about, is there heavy metal hazard associated with smoking?
Oh, it's a great question, and absolutely there is. Cadmium toxicity is very, very high in people that smoke. Cadmium, and I'll just bring up something very, very quickly on this. They are issues that one has to remember. Lead, if you have an LD1 of, actually, I'm not going to go into the details of this one. It's on heavy metal, the DVD, Heavy Metal Toxicity explains this. That's actually explained in the book, too, about the synergism between lead, mercury, and cadmium, specifically those 2 metals. But the answer to the question directly is yes, cadmium is very high in people who smoke cigarettes. Did you hear that?
Yes, I did. Thank you very much. Thanks, Dr. Buttar. I'm just I'm making sure I can see some of these other great questions here.
Sure.
You actually had a comment that you made earlier about chemotherapy treatments for cancer. I know, and from a personal standpoint, I had a neighbor, Kathy. She was about my age. And my wife used to drive her to her chemo treatments. She had breast cancer, and we watched her waste away, and she was buried one October a couple years ago, and that was just a very tough thing. And I know you go through that all the time because you treat cancer patients, and I know it's impossible to save all of them. What are what's your take on chemotherapy for cancer? What's your stand?
I actually kind of go through this too, if you remember in the book a little bit, and actually that was one of my transformations in my life, dealing with one of the cancer patients I saw in the emergency room. But it's very difficult for me to answer that question, and the reason is this. If I say that you shouldn't get chemo, then the last thing a person is going to think about before they go get chemo is, well, that one doctor that I heard in the webinar said I shouldn't get chemo.
Right.
And I don't want to put that impression in people's head. And all I can say is that somebody that has that question, they need to get the Cancer, The Untold Truth DVD and to make a decision themselves after they go and watch that DVD. And these DVDs, I'm telling you, that with the response that we've gotten from the DVDs is just absolutely phenomenal. Those are DVDs that won awards, and all I can tell you is just go and get if you get a copy of the book, you get that $90 DVD anyway, and it's going to answer every question you've ever had on cancer. And I'm not trying to drive a sale here. That's not what my intention is. It's just that whatever I say is not going to be adequate, and that cancer presentation is an hour and a half, actually an hour and 45 minutes of over 90 hours of videotaping that was done of me lecturing in different places in different parts of the world, and then we ended up trimming it down, and that's what the end product was. So
yeah, I mean, if at a minimum, I would get the 6-book bundle because that gets all 6 of your DVDs, including the DVD that you just referenced, so they'd have the full library. Plus, they'd have a bottle of transdetropin to boot, along with the copies of the book to share with friends and family.
Right. So, I just want to also mention, if somebody doesn't want the transd, they can still get the 6 books. Just go in and individually just order, go through the regular process and just order, 6 books and then get the 6 DVDs, and you don't have to get the transd, and it's about $100 cheaper or whatever it is. So.
Okay. And the single book, if they wanted that, is just on the regular, the 9steps.com website. Is that right?
I'm sorry, one more time?
If they want to buy one book, I don't see that option on the...
No, it's not on the option. Just go to the 9steps.com, just however they got there originally. And
okay, great.
Go through the process. And they can get 12 DVDs and 12 books and 12 DVDs, and they don't get all the other extra stuff. But, in other words, they don't have to get the transcript they're not interested or whatever else. That's just something that was an incentive thing that we did.
At the main homepage of the 9steps.com, they can get the DVDs for free, but they need the source code. That source code is located in the email that they received about the webinar.
Right, the original.
So use that source code. Otherwise, you'll get the DVDs at a discount, but to get them for free, you need that source code. Okay,
fair enough. This is a great question. Is this another MLM? Is this another network marketing company?
No. Actually, we wanted to have a way of people, just to promote. Like if you saw a good movie, or you went to a good restaurant and you want to tell people about it. We wanted to have a way of doing that. There's no way that a person can market this unless they've used the product. You don't have to be using the product afterwards to be able to refer to somebody, but you have to have used it initially before you can refer to somebody. And as I understand it, the definition from the Federal Trade Commission, this is only after talking to attorneys, because I have to talk to attorneys all the time, because my problem is my big mouth gets me in trouble, so I happen to know what I can say and what I can't say. And this was one of those issues. One of the attorneys happened to be an MLM attorney that was giving us consultations on the Transfee website, and he told me that essentially if you have a program that refers 3 levels out, that's an MLM. If it's 2 levels or less, it's an affiliate program. So that's what it is. There's 2 levels.
So it's a referral program or affiliate program, as people are used to, hearing about. Very simple in its structure. So a question from one of our international friends on the line. Mm-hmm. Is can people get Transfetropin outside of the U.S., for example, Australia, down under?
How many countries are we shipping Transfeed right now?
We're probably shipping to 30 or so different countries.
So Australia is one of them?
Yes, Australia is no problem.
We even have patients from Australia.
Yeah.
Do you actually have patients from how many countries? 38 countries?
Yeah, 38, something like that.
38 countries, Australia's included, so I imagine that includes Canada, UK, the usual suspects, right?
Yeah. So we offer the USPS Priority Mail has a flat rate that's very inexpensive internationally, so the shipping is very reasonable outside the U.S.
Fantastic. Is Transfetropin useful for people with joint problems, joint pain?
Absolutely. We've had people. What people need to do is rather than rely on what I'm going to say, because remember, I talk about this in the book too now, so you can maybe comment on that, because I say in the book, in the last part, in fact, if I can take the liberty of reading the very last quote in the book, and it's one of my favorites, and I want to read it because it's very appropriate here. Believe nothing, no matter where you read it or who said it, no matter if I have said it, unless it agrees with your own reason and your own common sense. Buddha said that. And I can say anything I want because I've got a biased interest. I'm going to be biased on Transfeed. What I would recommend is you go to the website and you listen to what the doctors and the celebrities and the people that have used the product have said, and make a decision for yourself. And the best thing is just go try the product. It's got a 100% money-back guarantee. I mean, in the time that we monitored over a 6-month period of over 3,800 bottles that were sold, we had 6 bottles returned with a 100% money-back guarantee. And 4 of those 6 bottles, is that right, Josh? 4 of the 6 bottles weren't even open?
Were unopened.
Wow. I think we're maybe up to 8 or 10 total.
So in the last, since we went over the counter with Transfee, or if you want to call it that, because before it was only available by prescription, since January 2008? Is that right?
Correct. October 2008.
October 2008, I'm sorry. Since October 2008, so just under 2 years right now, maybe a year and a half, we've had a total of 8 bottles returned out of I don't know how many thousands of bottles we've sold, and that's it. I mean, it's 100% money back guarantee. You can't go wrong. I mean, I don't think we don't return for shipping. We don't return the shipping.
Right, we don't return the shipping. No.
But but we return the product. I mean, we'll give you 100% money back guarantee. Now, the only thing is, if somebody returns a bottle, and we've had this happen. Once they return the bottle, they can't order it again. And we've had that where people try to order it again.
That's typical. I mean, for company and fair, right? If they're returning it, they're saying that I'm not going to use this product, and it's not for me, which is fine.
Right. Exactly.
Is there a place where someone can find doctors that he's saying can help someone with cancer? I assume he's thinking treats cancer patients the way you do in Charlotte.
In Charlotte?
No, can he find someone in Australia? Sorry, because you say he's down under. Where does your resource of doctors, physicians include physicians from outside of the U.S.?
Unfortunately, no, nobody in Australia. We do have one doctor that's gone through the training program. He's in Saudi Arabia, and I have 2 in Canada.
We've got no patients from Australia here this week.
We've got patients. We have patients. I mean, literally, I will come into the clinic in some days, and I don't see anybody from the United States. I see only patients from other countries, and I mean that's all the patients that I hear from other countries. So it's not been a constraint. I know that it is a constraint for some people, and God willing, with more people getting involved with the mission, my goal is to have 40 destinations where we can treat people, 40 different places in the world, have 40 medical resorts where people can come get escape from everything. They can get, they don't have to deal with their everyday hassles. They can get treated in a dignified manner and actually fight and resolve the issue. And we're going to have 40 different sites. That's what my goal is. So, and hopefully the first one, you kind of heard about that now. So the first one hopefully will be going into effect in about a month and a half.
Very good. Well, I want to make sure that people have, if they haven't received the email, because I see a lot of people in these later questions asking, where's the website? How do I get the product? How do I get the hard copy of the book? It's www.the9steps.com/webinar special. If you want the special bundles that include whether it's the full set of DVDs, the bottle of transbutropin, which you really need to try that product. There's a bundle of 6 books with all 6 DVDs, the transbutropin, for a special bundle price of $249, and there's a whole set of other bundles that include some very unique and exclusive bonuses, including access to live access to Dr. Buttar, and including live FaceTime with him at a resort location. If you're one of the top promoters, then you want to go to that bundled link website, which is www.the9steps. That's the9steps.com/webinar special. So let me get back to. We've got a few more questions here to answer. And there are a few people that ordered the book before the webinar tonight, Dr. Buttar, and somehow they had found their way, maybe through getting the URLs or getting the webinar link as part of the registration process. They went ahead and went to the website, maybe already pre-ordered the book. How can they take advantage of the DVD special or bonus or what have you if they didn't have access to it already?
Let's see.
If they came from somebody that emailed about the webinar, they would have gotten a source code to offer them the free DVD.
Is there support, Josh? Is there just a support email I can direct them to get their questions answered or get some help from someone?
They can email us at support@the9steps.com.
Perfect.
Actually, the email is actually on the...
or just go to the bottom of 9 Steps to click Contact Us.
Okay, so support@the9steps.com, and go ahead and send your question there. I'm sure they'll take good care of you. So got the transbutropin, people asking about I think most of these questions are about where can I get transbutropin once you started mentioning that, and that was a very...
I'll tell you the truth. Here's a very important thing. If somebody wants to use transbutropin, that's great. You're going to use it a couple months, 6 months, and then you're going to, kind of forget about it. And some people do that, and then you're off it for a couple months, and then you realize the benefit of it, and you come back on it. But truly, to understand what the benefit is, that chapter that talks about transbutropin, the 9th step, which is chapter 11, I believe, right, Josh?
Yeah, I think so.
Is, in my opinion, essential for you to understand what's going on. And I would highly, highly recommend that you invest the $23 to understand why TransD is going to make a difference in your life. To get the product and try it is great, but you really need to understand the essence of it behind it. Did you notice that was chapter 11? I just noticed that was chapter 11. Interesting. But it's I really would recommend if somebody wants to use the product, which I'm glad they do. But that's a product. It's an expensive product. It's not nearly as expensive as the other options out there, and it's the only product that really works. And as far as I'm concerned, even if I wasn't involved with the product, if I hadn't developed the product, I would. And this is without any. And I'm saying this as honestly as I can. I would use the product, and I would spend 5 times the amount of money that I spend that the product retails for, only because that's the amount of benefit I get out of it. That's how much more productivity and efficiency I have. I mean, I have people every day. You can ask Josh, how many times a day do I have patients say that you look a lot younger in real life than you do in the DVDs?
Yeah, that happens a lot because the patients get the DVDs before they come in for their initial consult with Dr. Buttar. So when they see him in person, he seems younger than the DVDs that were all filmed 5+ years ago.
Right, and I've been on the product for 12 years. And you can see the father of NASCAR, Ned Jarrett, who's a patient of mine for 8 years, and I don't go around thinking my patients are, but he's been on public, on ESPN, CNBC, Fox. When the medical board came after me, he publicly was one of my greatest advocates and supporters, and very, very gentle, great guy, but was very adamant when that happened. And Mr. Jarrett's been on Transty for 7 years. He's on the website, actually talks about his results. And when you see him there, he's 78 in that video? Yes, he is. 78 in that video. And you can see video of him before he became a patient of ours 8 years ago when he was in his 60s, and he looks older then than he does now.
I tell you, he's my hero because I had a chance to do a NASCAR experience. I drove 80 laps at Talladega, and so to see a picture of him back in the old days with the old NASCAR, and then to see him talk about transthytropin was amazing. And this is not an infomercial about transthytropin because I really want to stress what you said, which is get the book because you need to understand, the other 8 steps and then why the 9th step is there, and understand how Transdy is going to help to optimize your health and see if it's right for you.
You're absolutely right. And now, if I can add to that, this was something that was said to me by a copywriter, by Anthony Flores, who's Eamon's copywriter. It was a really powerful statement. I really liked what he said. He said that the book is phenomenal, but he said it's the ultimate sales letter for Transdy. Because once you read the book, you will never stop using the product. And so I thought that was a powerful statement. But it wasn't designed that way necessarily. But once you've read the book, once you understand the information, then people will really understand the power of Transdy.
Someone's asking. They're actually Cindy is saying, I want to get 6 copies, and how do I get my? She says, if I buy the 6-book bundle, how do I get my electronic copy? So, Josh, the mechanics of that, do they get instant access during the purchase process?
Yeah, we since the last 30 minutes, again, I appreciate the last-minute suggestion to Dr. Buttar, but we did make that work despite my banging my fist on my desk. But, at the confirmation page, once they place the order, there will be a link to that PDF and also a password for them to access that PDF. So they'll be able to go buy that right now and start reading.
Yes, it's immediate. Just if they go through the process, they don't get the access to it until after they've purchased the book. But one thing I do want to say, it's on the same page as you get access. You've also got your affiliate code in there. So I don't want people to forget what the mission is. I want you to talk about this and get people to understand what this is about. I can go out there and I can buy the books myself to try to get on this list, but that's not what this is about. And this is about getting the book legitimately on a bestseller list so that it demands the attention that allows us to be able to take the next step. When I say allows us, I mean us, all of us that are on this webinar, all the people out there that are part of this mission, all the people out there like Greg Adams who've lost a child, who've lost somebody that's close to them because they didn't know their options, because they didn't know what the possibilities were, because they didn't know that there was a solution out there that nobody else had explained to them. And that's what this is about for me. I appreciate the fact that there's so much enthusiasm about Transdy, and this wasn't even a Transdy webinar, but and I think, Nasser, as I told you, that usually, I try not to talk about Transdy, and there's still a lot of questions about it.
But anybody gets wind of it, everybody's got a lot.
The first thing you mentioned, and then suddenly there's a lot of excitement, which I understand why. Now, someone's asking is how they can become an affiliate, the process to become an affiliate. There's a lot of excitement about that.
As soon as they order and they go through the process, they end up at that portion that explains all the affiliate stuff, that gives them the codes, the source codes, and they can go immediately and start promoting it.
So once they order the book, they will actually be directed to a place where they can become an affiliate.
They're automatically, once they've ordered the book, they're automatically given a source code, and that source code drives them to the, actually they have to do the 6 bundle book with Transdy to become an affiliate for Transdy. Otherwise, they won't be able to do it because, remember, you have to use the product before you can.
Okay. So the best path to become an affiliate for Transdy is to buy the 6-book bundle. That will also include a bottle of Transdy and make you eligible to become an affiliate because you're now a product owner to become an affiliate for Transdy.
And the thing is that those books. Here's the reason, and maybe I didn't do a good job explaining this. The idea for these bundles, the reason I was told to put these bundles together, the suggestion was made because the book, once you read the book, it's an automatic no-brainer to start using Transdy. So somebody who's coming in with 6 books, you've got your own copy. You can give a couple of copies away or lend them to friends and let them see it, and they will want to get Transdy. And then you just give them your source code. It saves them $20, ties them to you forever. And every time they order, you're making the referral commission. And I'll tell you what's really powerful for me is to see a 27 or how old is Nate? 27, 28? Guy that wrote one letter a year and a half ago. He wrote it one time. He drove some traffic to it, and he picks up a check every single month, and it's varied from, I think the lowest check that I've written out to is what, about $3,000 maybe?
Right.
It's every month. We write a check out to him because he did it, and he hasn't done anything for the last year and a half. It's just a one time.
And tell him to get back to work. That's funny. Do you have? Someone's asking about. You had mentioned actually, anything's better than having mercury in your mouth. Do you have any opinions on gold or silver fillings? Any issues with that?
If you hear silver, it is mercury. They call it silver fillings, but it's actually mercury. There is no such thing as actually using silver in the teeth. There is silver in the amalgam, but it's by weight, 49.5% mercury. So if somebody says silver, get the hell away from it. Gold is fine. Gold is a very soft, inert metal. Gold is okay. In fact, I have gold in my teeth. But
okay.
Not mercury. And if they say silver, it is mercury.
Gold is the way to go?
Well, not necessarily the way to go, but for people that bite a lot or hard or grind their teeth, gold is a good option, and that would be something that you really need to talk to your biological dentist about. Gold's good, polymers are good, resin. The problem is that each one of these things has different. Porcelain is good, but like porcelain will crack easier, whereas gold won't. Polymers, the person may have a sensitivity to them, so it needs to be tested, and each dentist will, have a different way of evaluating. What you want to make sure is anything to do with silver or anything to do with mercury amalgam. If it says amalgam, get rid of it. Don't use it. I've had dentists say to me, well, this is amalgam. It's not mercury. It's like they don't even understand amalgam is 49.5% by weight mercury.
Very good. I want to take a crack at someone. Someone's asking for their personal self. Bruce has said, I'm just paraphrasing here. He's had a total thyroidectomy. He's had 11 malignant tumors. He's suffered from sleep apnea, migraine headaches, poor concentration, poor memory. Will your book and information be of help to Bruce?
Well, you know what? Again, I'm going to be biased, so let me not answer that. Why don't you answer?
I know the answer. It's absolutely irrefutably yes, right? Because a number of, and I'm not the physician, so I can. Yeah, am I allowed to say anything? Toxic load of the body. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough.
And one of the things that also I wanted to kind of bring up, if you've read the book, I would greatly appreciate you writing a review on the book. So if you purchase a book, you buy a bundle, you've talked to other people, you share a book with somebody, please ask them if and I don't want you to write the review if you don't. I mean, if you want to write a bad review, that's fine too. I'm not asking you to just write a good review, and I certainly don't want you to buy a book and then just not read it and then make a good review. I want you to write an honest review, whatever you think, whether it's good or bad, about the book, because more people need to know about this. I have been asked to write this book since 2000. I didn't because I love trees, and I didn't want to cut down a bunch of trees and have, for my vanity's sake, have a book out there. But if it's going to save somebody's life, if it's going to make a difference in somebody's life, it's going to be worth it. And one of the things that one of my patients said to me that got an advanced reader's copy, he said that these 9 steps, it's going to literally save people thousands of dollars if they just start doing these things. Now, I'm not saying that these 9 steps, they're simple steps, but I'm not saying that they're easy, meaning that if you're going to sit on your rear end eating bonbons and, being a couch potato and not taking initiative, not taking action, not doing the things that are suggested in there, no, the book's not going to do anything. The one problem is you do have to open the book, you do have to read it, and then you have to take action on it. But if you do that, this book in 30 to 45 days will change your life, guaranteed. Why? Because I've done it myself. I've experienced patients that have done it, and it's irrefutable. I mean, we don't have a single person that has actively done these steps and not seen a benefit. And if you can't do all 9 steps, pick one component of each of the 9 steps. And if you can't do which one component of each of the 9 steps, then just pick one step, one component within one step, and just start doing it. It's about starting. It's not about, coming up with an elaborate plan. You know how it is now. So people say, well, okay, I'm going to start working out. I'm going to have, a trainer, and I'm going to have this schedule. I'm going to do this and that. And they do all this planning and they never do a damn thing. Just get up, put on your shoes, and run. Don't worry about how far or anything. Just run till you start feeling tired. Just taking action is the key. And people are paralyzing it through this analysis process. So my advice would be, if somebody's that concerned about it.
Well, it's baby steps, and you actually give a good formula for taking the baby steps and getting those first baby steps, so that leads to a commitment, becomes a habit. And it's actually, now that I've been practicing this now for a few months, those things have become a habit for me. And I'm 45, but I feel better now than I ever remember feeling since, I can remember being 19 or 20, It's amazing to me. I feel stronger, more vital, energetic. I actually weigh less now than I did when I graduated from high school. So,
right.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I've been battling weight problems all my life. So anyway, I'm just letting you, Josh, know that there's a bunch of people getting the 6-book bundle, and they're saying that they didn't see the affiliate code or the password for the electronic book. So I just want to make you aware of that. If anyone has any issues, please email us at support@the9steps.com, and we'll make sure someone takes care of you.
I don't know who. Can you give me the name of that person?
It was said it was Carrie.
No, not. I'm sorry, Nasser. I was going to ask Josh something. Russell Simmons. Okay, whoever Russell Simmons is, he just became one of the inner circle. So welcome, Russell. I don't know who you are, but I promise you, we will get to know each other very well.
Good job, Russell. Stepped up. Excellent.
Yeah,
Good job,
and those are the type of people that honestly I want to surround myself with. And those are the type of people, we're the ones that are going to make the shift. We're going to make the one. I promise you one thing. This time in history, it will be remembered as the most archaic and most barbaric in the history of mankind as far as medicine is concerned. And my goal is that this is going to be changed, and we will be at the forefront. And yes, you're not the doctors, but you know what? I tried doing this with the doctors, and I realized the one thing that's wrong with doctors is that they are scared. Doctors are like beaten into submission. They're so scared. Of all the doctors I've trained, which are the most aggressive, only 3 or 4 of them would ever stand by my side because they're scared. Now, you know my background, Nasser. I'm prior military. My brain works in a little bit different way. To me, if I've been in live fire, taken live fire, and potentially given my life for my country when I was with the service, there's no way somebody's going to violate my patient's rights and my family's rights right here on home turf. So the people that the people that are joining me in this, especially the people that are going to be part of this inner circle, like you, like Russell Simmons, these are the type of people that I literally at nighttime thank the Creator for putting on this planet so that I can be around other people like that, to take action. And you know what? I'm not trying to get anybody to buy the 240 pack. I don't care whether you buy even the one book. I don't care if you don't buy any book. In fact, even if you decide that this isn't for you, I want you to remember one thing. Just take action. Just move forward. Don't think about it. I wish to God Nike had never branded or trademarked that just do it, because that's what I wanted. I wanted to have that as my slogan, just do it. But that's really the key about life, is just do it. Take action. Forget about everything else. Forget about contemplation and analysis and let me work this out, let me work that out. I mean, just to get this webinar going, some of the most brilliant minds in marketing, they were paralyzed by taking action, by analysis, coming up with this and that and the other. I was like, if it's supposed to happen, it'll happen. Don't worry about it. Just take action. And that's what we ended up doing. And I'm sure that there's a couple people that helped to make this webinar possible that are probably chuckling at this, because we had some really good people that wanted to get involved, but they were just so busy trying to work out this, that, the other, and the other. Nothing was being done. So in life, to me, and especially when it comes to health, the key is doing something. It doesn't matter what. Just as long as you're doing something, you do it with consistency. So, exercise is a great example. Don't work out all the details and have the trainers and everything. Just go out there and walk. Just start walking. Start drinking the water. Pick one thing. Cut out the coffee. Cut out the high fructose corn syrup juice. Just one thing. Make the change, one thing, and keep on doing it, and you will see the difference in 30 to 45 days. And if I'm wrong, if you don't, send me the book back.
Yeah.
Ask the money.
I've never heard of an author saying, buy my book. You don't like it, send it back. I'll give you a refund.
And listen to this. Right. Here's what else I've actually made this commitment. Half the money goes to the foundation anyway, the profit to the Children's Foundation, the Answer Children's Foundation, Nasser. If I refund the money back, I'm going to leave the money in the foundation. I'm going to refund them out of my own pocket. I have no problem doing that. In fact, I'm thankful that you've made me aware that you did not appreciate the book, and I will be able to take that book and give it to somebody else. I do want the book back so I can give it to somebody else.
Very good. Well, I'd like to get a couple more folks' questions answered. Somebody's asking, does MS have anything to do with toxicity?
Absolutely. Mercury is the key, and you got to look at the other metals. Heavy metals is like, if you see one metal, it's like cockroaches. You see one cockroach, you know there's a bunch behind the wall. And I have had 4 MS patients, of which 2, actually all 4 got better, but they didn't totally resolve. One went from a wheelchair to actually walking without a cane. 2 of them had significant improvements, but not improvements to. They were grateful, but not improvements to the normal status that I would like to have a normal person at. But they all had mercury, all 4 of them, and the 4th one, unfortunately, only did treatments for about a month before they moved away. So mercury is a very big component, but there's other components besides that. When you watch the 7 toxicity presentation on facts on toxicity, you'll learn about these 7 toxicities. And the first one we talked about metals, but the second one is the persistent organic pollutants. Those 2 combined will cause the most egregious assault to the human system, and especially to the neurological system. So MS, myasthenia gravis, dementia, Alzheimer's, huge issues. I've had 2 patients with Alzheimer's who came to us, one with both with formal diagnosis, one with late stage dementia, the other one with a formal diagnosis of Alzheimer's. Both who were treating for cancer, the family members didn't. They had a cancer that the family members wanted us to treat them for instead of the conventional route, and both of them were able to regain their power of attorney and go back to living on their own after our treatment, one within 6 months, one within 7 months. Now, have you ever heard of Alzheimer's being irreversible?
No.
It is reversible because it's nothing more than mercury toxicity on board a physiology that cannot excrete. The only difference between autism and Alzheimer's is that autism is an acute toxicity on a system that's still developing, whereas Alzheimer's is a chronic accumulation of that metal on a physiology that can't excrete. That's the only difference.
Amazing. Well, to have people actually be functional, live a functional life after treatment is incredible. There are a couple of folks that are asking about diabetes. Is there a cure for type 2 diabetes, for example?
Okay, first, the word cure is a very heavy word, so we can't use that. The Food and Drug Administration's word for cure, for the word cancer, you must be cancer-free for 5 years to be called cure. And even then, they will jail a doctor. We've got patients that are 9 years out of their terminal cancer conditions with stage 4 cancer is given 6 months to live. They're 9 years out. We still can't use the word cure. So let's not use the word cure. Is there a solution to help people with diabetes? Absolutely. Again, I know I'm going to sound like a broken record, but mercury has a huge issue here, and other metals too. There is an autoimmune type reaction that takes place to the beta islet cells of the pancreas. In fact, one of our mutual friends, Eamon, his brother has diabetes, and we've been working on a couple of different things to help with that. The key is, again, getting the body detoxified. And once a person's got diabetes, it's a bigger issue than to try to prevent it, obviously. But asthma and diabetes are both conditions, reactive airway disease such as asthma and diabetes are both conditions that have been directly related to a destructive component as a result of heavy metals.
Thank you, Doctor. There are a couple of questions that came up regarding Trans-D. One is people noticed that it used to be available only by prescription. You said that has since changed. It is now available without a prescription. Is that correct?
That's correct. Since 2008, after being on the market for 10 years and having an unbelievable safety profile, we've never had any. But the only problem we've ever had is some people reported comedogenic type reactions, which is acne. was positive that we had, we were reversing the physiology out of the younger state. And we had maybe 1.5% of people that had a transient temporary rash that they've developed over the site of application, which is more an issue with allergenicity to the carrier compound. But we've never had any other problems at all, ever. And so it was, Tylenol is more dangerous than over-the-counter aspirin. You can't hurt yourself with TransT. The worst thing that can happen is you take the whole bottle, and what you're going to do is just shut off your growth hormone. It's just going to be the negative inhibitory feedback loop, which I'm sure after you remember from reading the book. It's all explained in there. It can't hurt you. It's impossible.
Your body kicks in and protects itself, basically.
Exactly. It's too much and it shuts off.
So people are asking.
Negative inhibitory feedback loop that's controlling the whole thing.
There's some folks that are asking the same very consistently, and I think that it's definitely worth addressing. The product is not. You mentioned this earlier. The product is not cheap. It's not inexpensive.
Doctor, you remember the story of that lady that started the 9th step in the 11th chapter? You remember how it started that off, right? About the story of that woman.
Yep.
Okay. So I would just say, look, if the product's not cheap, don't even talk about the product. Get the book, read it, and you decide yourself.
Right. I mean, really, I guess people are looking at it right at the surface and not understanding what's behind it. But I would like to make a comment because you and I have talked about this before, is the technology and the expense that goes into producing the product. Because I'm involved in the nutritional supplement industry, I understand the process and the unique technology, the transdermal technology that you're using for this, and how you've gone about formulating this. It is not, this is not one of those. You're a pharmaceutical you're big pharma, and you're making, a massive margin on this product. It's actually a very expensive product to produce.
Let me tell you this. In 1997 and 1998, we were approached, before TransT was ever developed, just the technology. Because my goal was immune modulators for cancer, which, by the way, we have done, and we use those, but we don't market those. We don't sell those. It's just used in doctors for the treatment of patients that are suffering from cancer or other immunosuppressive conditions. But that's what I was after. Just for the technology, my partner and I were offered $10 million each by a major pharmaceutical company. Now, at that time we didn't have any money, so $10 million each would sound like a lot of money. But we respectively declined it because we knew that the technology could be used for good or for bad. We are 20 to 25 years ahead of polypeptide technology. All right. For anybody who argues with me, and I have had some of the most prominent researchers and in the growth hormone and anti-aging fields and research fields that tell me that this is preposterous. You're full of baloney. This isn't true. And I've told them, use a bottle of TransT for 1 month, and then tell me the same thing. And not one single one has come back to me and said, I was right and you were wrong. Every single one of them apologized or said you were right, or I don't know what the hell you're doing, or I don't know how this works, but there's something to this. I don't understand it. So I can tell you that it's like anything else in the world. Perricone said he would spend $6,000 for a bottle of TransT. That's what Nick Perricone himself said. It's a direct quote from him when I was his opening act in Europe. And you know what? I mean, the product is what it is. It's we've never increased the price, and to me, it's like a person they don't have to use it. It's a free world. They don't have to use it. But it is an expensive product, but the results that it gives you, I mean, what is the price of being able to be able to sleep all of a sudden and not be in pain? There's a story of a woman relatively local that actually started in TransT, and what she wrote on the website. Now, you may have read that. I mean, for anybody, they can go to the website and read it. And we don't put just like initials of people. We actually have the real name of the person. We ask them for permission. We put their first and last name on whatever they've written. And this woman said she was about to end her life because she could not live in that kind of pain anymore. And within 6 days, she doesn't even remember how she found out about it. Within 6 days or 7 days, she was sleeping and resting, and she finally had hope that life could be different. And she's like, what, Josh, how old is that lady, like 70 something, 69? She's actually, this is so cute because this woman was talking to me on a webinar, on a teleconference actually, and she was asking all these questions about, asking Josh all these questions about the affiliate thing, and I'm thinking this lady sounds like she's a little bit older. I wonder why she's so involved with it. It ended up being the same woman that wrote the story, and she said, I'm so excited because this thing has saved my life, and I want to talk about it. In fact, Ned Jarrett on the webinar, Ned Jarrett is on the website, for Trans-D. And again, this isn't about Trans-D. It's about the book, guys. Come on, get with the program. This is about that.
Sorry, a lot of people were asking about it, so
But what I was going to say was Ned Jarrett on video. You've seen that video that he has on the Trans-D site.
Yeah.
He says point blank that I have had the privilege of making a lot of money by endorsing many products. And what did he say about Trans-D? He has not received one single dime for recommending Trans-D. Not one single dime, because he believes in it that much. In fact, every celebrity that you'll see talking about Trans-D, pictures of Trans-D, or recommending Trans-D, not one single celebrity has ever been paid a single thing. I will not pay anybody for an endorsement with the product, because then you don't know whether it's the money doing it or whether they actually believe in the product.
Right. No, and that's the only way to do it, and unfortunately, that's not the way most health marketers do this. So, I'd like to read something here that and maybe do this as a closing remark, because I know that we went well over what we talked about in terms of time frame, but everyone asked so many great questions. We got 319 questions posed here. It's from Kara, and Kara says, "Please allow me to say that I've been on this same crusade for over 30 years. Literally, the day after I graduated from nursing school, I got involved in alternative medicine and complementary healing. And 30 years ago, there was a lot of resistance to this message. Yet, I've carried on despite the arrows in the back, making the release of this information my full-time affair and income for the past 16 years. And now it's such a huge relief to see more people joining in to spread the truth. Thank you, too, Dr. Buttar. I go to bed at night and thank the Creator for you, too." That's
wow. That's
amazing words.
Thank you very, very much. What was her name again?
Kara.
Kara, thank you very much for those words. It means a lot to me. It means a lot more than maybe people would think, but it's what makes it all worth knowing that there are other people that feel the same way. And I will tell you that I'm probably not, my cause may not be as noble as some other people may think, because I did this because I don't have a choice. It's not like I sit there and go, okay, today I'm going to do this. I don't have a choice anymore. I made a promise to the Creator, give me back my son, and I will never stop. And that is the one entity you do not make a promise to and break it. So, I've resolved myself to it, and I will continue to strive. And I thank people. I thank God for people like you, Kara, that have the same mission, the same heart, the same desire to want to make a difference in the world. So I appreciate you. Thank you.
Well, thank you, everyone, for joining on this call tonight. And I want to read that URL. I think a couple people, I saw a lot of people said they attempted to make an order and may have run into an issue along the way. You can always email us at support@the9steps.com. That's THE, the numeral 9steps.com, support@the9steps.com. The URL with the special bundles that we talked about with all those bonuses bundled in is at www.the9steps.com/webinar special. As you see on the slide here, you also should be getting an email from us with that same link. I think that site will be up with those bundles for how long, Dr. Buttar?
I'm actually not sure. July 4th is our goal to hit the bestseller. There was somebody was saying that we need to take it down, but I don't understand why we'd need to unless it's a marketing gimmick to create a sense of urgency or something. So I'm not into the gimmick thing. So my goal is to get the bestseller. I would like for as many people as possible to get involved with this. I would like to get the webinar up there. And, I was asked the question, what if we hit the 21,000 books? I was like, well, we keep on going because, you know what, if bestseller is good, then number one bestseller would be even better. And I promise you that this is not about ego. I want you all to be part of this. I need you all to be a part of this because one person can't do everything. I can talk and talk and talk, but it's people talking to their friends, their families, their relatives, and then using this as a tool to help them. I can't tell you 9 people, Nasser, I saw on those questions, 9 people that said, how do I convince my family? It's like beating my head against a wall. And I'm not thinking, well, good, now you've got this book, just hand it to them and tell them to read it, and if they have any questions. Because you can't be a preacher in your own house. You'll never be able to convince your own family members. My own mother got breast cancer. I had told her for 9 years to stop taking the progestin that she was taking. and she wouldn't listen to me until she got cancer. And, you can't be a minister in your own house.
Yeah, my wife's girlfriend, very close girlfriend who lives literally, down the street, her daughter, Beata, diagnosed with autism just recently. So I'm going to take her, and her husband is not a big believer in alternative medicine, but we're taking a copy of the book and giving it to Ilana, her mother. And I can tell you that's going to have a profound impact on her and her ability to help treat her daughter.
And I'll tell you that, the one thing that I don't like is I don't like it when people say alternative medicine, because here's the thing, alternative, when you're going down the interstate, and you see an alternative route, you're actually going down off the interstate over,
Okay, bad choice of words.
But it's a thing that people, we use certain words we don't realize the words we're using, but that's just how everybody says alternative. And there's nothing alternative about this. This is advanced medicine. This is good medicine. This is about cleaning up the system. This is about reversing the body to the state that God wanted. You remember the thing in the book, there's a recurrent theme that I talk about, man versus God, right?
Yep.
Man-made is madness. God is good. Just remember that. So I'm just giving you one of the things, and throughout the book, there's certain things that I refer to, and that it's over and over the theme comes in different areas, so I can explain why what I'm recommending is the right answer. And this isn't my opinion, by the way. Many of the things that I recommend in here, if you'd asked me 10 years ago, I would have said no. They're based on fact. They're based on results. They're not based on my opinion or what I prefer. Unfortunately, vast majority of books out there that I've seen, and I've read some of the top bestsellers, which I think are unadulterated crap because they're not saying the truth, either one, or two, it's just somebody's opinion. It's not based on fact. It's not based on true patients. This book is based upon 3,500 to 4,000 patients from 38 different countries, my experience with them. That's what it's based on. It's based upon what I've observed. And I wish that some of the things I could have said, because it would have been a lot better to sell a book to say something different, because people would have liked to hear that, but it wasn't the truth. So I had to, the book is about results, and the results you only get if you talk about the truth and you take action.
Well, and I can tell you this, I can tell the people on the call that I've gotten to know you over the past few months, and I've actually been on late night, 2 a.m. Skype calls with you, and I know how committed you are to this mission, right? That you literally do not sleep, and you will not sleep until your objectives are met. So I challenge, what's that?
I was just going to say, Doctor, I appreciate what you said, but I'll tell you, that it's hard to really sleep when you know that somebody, for every day we don't get this message out there, more suffer. I mean, we've got people like Bill Gates and other people with a lot of power that supposedly are trying to do the right thing. They want to help. And they go out there and they're spending hundreds of millions of dollars to go out there and inoculate children in third world countries. They're doing things, maybe he is really a good guy. He's just surrounded by 500 idiots that are telling him BS to get him to spend his money on those vaccines to go out there and protect these children, supposedly in his mind. So it's hard to really sit there. I mean, I sit there and I look at my kids and I'm so grateful that my children are okay. My 5-year-old called me right before this webinar, and you know what he said to me? Josh, you heard him, right? You heard what Ani said? He said, Daddy, have a great call. I know you're going to do great. My 5-year-old. My 17-year-old daughter, when she introduced me to her friends at the age of 12, she said, this is my dad. He's got some kind of he's a fanatic about mercury. He's got something to do with mercury. I don't know what it is, but he's always talking about mercury. There's something.
I cannot top what you just said about your kids. So I'm going to challenge the people, and we still have a good fraction of the people that were with us from the very beginning. So I salute you for being with us for the full length of the call, and I challenge the people that have the wherewithal to join me, to join Russell in the big bundle, the 240 book bundle. If you're a business owner, if you're a part of a group, whether it's a for-profit or nonprofit, if you have an organization, if you have a church group, whatever it is that you think you want to get behind this mission with the 9 steps and be a part of this and join Russell and myself in this inner circle with Dr. Buttar, then I challenge you to step up and get that 240 book bundle as well. So
you're saying that, but I also want to make sure that people understand that even if you don't get a book, just make yourself more aware. Look at the agenda from both sides. Look at it from an objective standpoint. Look at it. Why would my doctor say this, and why would this doctor be saying something different? Or why would the government? I mean, everybody knows now today that when you talk about the government, nobody trusts the government. 20 years ago, people just said things that the government should trust them. Now look at everything's falling apart. But it's falling apart because people stopped relying on their own ability to do things. When they stopped being empowered, when they started relying on the third outside party. You can't do that. God gave you a brain for a reason. He gave you a brain and an ability to make a decision and to be able to think and analyze yourself. So even if you don't get the book, just start thinking about this. Don't just take something blindly because the person says this is good for you, this is a medicine, or this is a vaccine that's going to protect you. Don't just trust people. Start looking at things. And if you can't get I appreciate, Nasser, you talking and recommending the 240 package. But even if it's just one book, this book is going to be a bestseller. Whether or not you're involved with it or not, it's going to be a bestseller. It's already ordained. I already know that. And there are many other people like Nasser, like Eamon, like Ryan Kaltman, some of the other people that were promoting this. They know that it's going to be a bestseller too. Eventually, the whole world's going to be talking about it. And it's not about the book and it's not about me. It's about the fact that we have the ability to take control of our own health and our own bodies. That's what it's about. So please take that empowering step, whatever it is, even if you don't read the book. I think the first 2 chapters are available for free. Just read the first 2 chapters and whatever that recommendation you get out of it, follow those actions.
Thank you, Dr. Buttar. And I thank you for tonight. And I have learned a lot tonight as well, even though I've read your book. I always learn something new when I speak to you or hear you speak. So thanks for joining us, Dr. Buttar. I look forward to our next conversation. Appreciate everyone being a part of this tonight. If you can't, being a part of the mission and helping us get the word out about this mission and the 9 steps to keep the doctor away. If you have any questions, please feel free to email us at support@the9steps.com. And that URL, once again, to take a look at what this is all about and those bundles, is that www.the9steps.com/webinar special. So, Buck Rizvi, Dr. Buttar, any party thoughts?
I just want to thank you, Buck, for taking 3 hours. I guess we've been on here 3 hours of your precious time and hosting this. I really appreciate that.
It is my pleasure. Everyone, have a great night.
Being part of the inner circle too. I'm really excited about that too.
Yes, sir. Beware of what you ask for. I'm going to be vocal. Good night, everybody.
Good night.